What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the BallGame podcast. I'm Matt.
I'm Tom.
I'm Chris.
That's definitely the cleanest we've ever done that, by the way.
I was thinking of saying I'm Chris again, but I didn't do it. It's okay.
As you can see, very special guest. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
What's up, guys? My name's Joe Cruz. Excited to be here today.
No longer a D1 commit, or
Nah, I gave up on that dream.
it was
He gave all the
very
I
short-lived.
tore my PCL, ACL at the same time, so it wasn't worth it.
God damn.
What about the meniscus? What about the MCL? What,
Nah, that stayed intact.
they stayed intact.
Yeah.
All right.
He's not a pussy.
So you're headed for men's league superstardom.
Yeah, basically.
Flag football superstardom?
Yeah.
Superstardom?
Superstardom.
Stupid stardom?
Stupid start. All right, today's episode is going to be ranking fantasy football wide receivers. We're going to do it a little differently. We're not going to give our top 40 necessarily, but we're going to do a tier list with about 40 to 45 names in that range, and we're going to rank them based on how we view them for this coming season for fantasy football. So 6 different tiers. It'll be interesting. It'll be fun. Is everything all right over there?
All my tabs just disappeared.
No.
Oh, no.
I know. So
Not the
annoying.
tabs.
I know. I'll get them back.
All right, cool.
Oh, it's not even letting me restore. I'll get them back.
So I know South Shore Little League was in the Little League World Series. Are they officially eliminated? Do we know anything
I don't
about
know.
that? Because I thought someone
Aren't they
dropped
playing
in the
right now?
chat that they got smacked.
Oh, I thought they were
That's
playing
what I
right now.
thought, but I don't know for sure. We'll eventually find an update on them, I'm sure. Outside of that, there is preseason football on tonight. Actually, I think it's just starting right about now. I would love to put it on the television, but my television's not working, and I don't know why. The cable's broke, I guess. But yeah, so preseason football week 2 starts tonight. Then continue Saturday, continue Sunday, all that good stuff. Football's right around the corner. We're just about 3 weeks, a little over 3 weeks before NFL kickoff. And when we finally hear that beautiful, beautiful voice of Scott Hansen saying 7 hours of commercial-free football starts now. And I can't wait for that day. And it's coming. It is so close. And time flies, so we'll be there in just a moment. But for now, enjoy Ball Game Pod before we get into the NFL season, and then enjoy it even more while we're in.
Yo, you know what we got to do? We got to set a date for the 32-man draft.
Yes, we
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
do
we
that
should
right
do that
now.
soon.
We're going to set the date at this current moment.
It has to be a Tuesday.
It has to be a Tuesday. I can't do the 3rd. So it need to be the week before.
That kinda sucks.
I have jury duty the 3rd.
You have jury duty?
Jury
Bro,
duty
just
the 3rd.
Yeah, so
Just
it
get out
has
of
to
it.
be. It has to
Can't.
be.
I already did. I did it once.
Yeah, it has to be the 27th
It would have to
Okay.
be then, yeah.
in 2 weeks. Less
Okay.
than 2 weeks.
Okay.
August 27th. I think we have only one spot open. I think everyone's running it back besides my sister.
I mean, whoever
So,
wants to be in it,
yeah.
let us know. Hit us up. We'll pick it. We'll handpick it. Preferably not someone that we're very close to. Someone that's rather new.
Yeah, we don't want to see our
Yeah.
friends win
I
it.
know Santos watched the last pod, Mr. Pick
Oh,
Aside Meme. I saw
I'd
him
love to have him in
comment.
it.
So Santos, if you're watching, I know you sporadically come and watch. So if you're watching and you want to be in that, let us know.
Yes. So that one spot is open. We're also considering doing a league, a 12-man league, maybe 14, with some other people, not our friends, literally people unrelated to us. So a bunch of you, if you are interested in that, let us know so we have an idea of whether we want to start that thing up as well. All right. A lot of NFL news to digest, to talk about, intriguing stuff. And we'll start off with, honestly, some of the most unfortunate news you could get as an NFL fan, and that is Matt Milano tearing his bicep. Out indefinitely, potentially can return for the playoffs, but now the second year in a row that Matt Milano is going to miss almost the entirety of it. And it's heartbreaking because he's one of the best linebackers in all of football and basically the defense for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
When he was out, it collapsed. He's everything to that defense. He's everything to that team. That makes me view the Bills a little bit differently heading into this season. I could say that, at least, in my personal opinion. But it's heartbreaking. Well wishes to Matt Milano, a speedy recovery. If you ever see this, I hope you do. But yeah, like it's heartbreaking. And does this change our viewpoints overall about the Buffalo Bills?
I mean, yeah, Matt Milano went down last year, and it It wasn't good. But yeah, he's the heart and soul of that defense. He's the best player on that defense, and that's definitely gonna give them a big blow. I don't know if it makes me like view them much different in terms of like winning the division, but it's definitely makes it a harder task at the least.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I just feel like the offense is just what it is. So regardless of the defense, it's really like I feel like at this point now, it's really like how far can Josh Allen take them?
Yep.
Because before you could say like at least Matt Milano was on that defense and like kind of motivate the boys, but now it's really just let's see how far Josh Allen could take this team.
Yeah.
That's it. It's the only like healthy player still, basically.
You even more down on the Buffalo Bills this year now?
I mean, yeah, I feel like you have to be. I feel like he's the heart and soul of their defense. And I mean, I talk about it all the time. I feel like middle linebackers like that in today's NFL are severely underrated. I mean, you look at a guy like Fred Warner, you look at a guy like Roquan Smith and the effects he had on the Ravens defense. I think you always talk about it with running backs and middle linebackers. They're kind of the guys that always slip in the draft because of, quote, positional value. But I think they're so important. I think he's the captain of their defense, and I think they're going to miss him. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it comes in an off-season of massive turnover for the Buffalo Bills as well on the defensive side of the ball. You lose Micah Hyde. You lose Tre'Davious White. You lose Jordan Poyer. It's a lot of veteran losses to then have to compensate, and then you lose Matt Milano for basically the entirety of the season. So wishing you a speedy recovery, Matt, and best of luck to the Buffalo Bills this season.
Yeah.
All right, shifting gears to more positive news. The Atlanta Falcons are going all in. 2 moves. Matt Judon traded to the Atlanta Falcons from the New England Patriots for a 3rd-round pick. Honestly surprised that the Patriots got that much in the trade, given he's a 32-year-old. Happy birthday, Matthew Judon, pass rusher. And, I mean, a guy that's coming off an injury, just complained a bunch in camp, and then they get a 3rd-round pick for him. Big time for the Falcons. They needed a pass rusher. And apparently the Falcons aren't going to be extending him, which is what Matthew Judon wanted in the first place. So I wonder if we end up getting a similar situation to Hassan Reddick. That'd be some wild shit. But I'm sure he's a little happier to be in a winning situation now. That was the first of 2 moves. The second move, they signed vet safety Justin Simmons, an all-pro.
That's official?
Yes.
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that happened.
I'm pretty sure it's official. Yeah, Justin Simmons is now an Atlanta Falcon, which that might form the best safety duo in the entire NFL. And while I do want to curb my enthusiasm on the move because Simmons is over 30 and basically hasn't had a training camp. So I wonder what he's going to look like. Maybe it'll be a slow start to the season for the guy, but he's a vet, one of the best in the entire league. I think he'll be just fine. That's a dope safety duo. And 2 reinforcements to a defense that I feel like definitely needed it. So how do we view the Atlanta Falcons now after these 2 massive moves and getting vets that are going to help them for a playoff push?
I mean, I don't even think it goes as far as like them winning the division anymore. I think that's on locks. I mean, they clearly have the best team in the division. This is clearly a team that's trying to win a Super Bowl, trying to make it out of the NFC. I almost said out of the East, but out of the NFC. And yeah, I mean, you get a big time edge rusher like Matt Judon. That's probably the most important move you can make on defense. And Jesse Bates and Justin Simmons back there. Like you said, he might be off to a slow start, but when you have a superstar like Jesse Bates back there helping you, it'll make your transition a lot easier.
AJ Terrell, too.
AJ Terrell in the secondary, too. Yeah, straight up dog.
Yeah, I mean, this moves mountains for me. I've been very vocal about the fact that I wasn't all in on the Falcons offseason because they didn't address defense. But, I mean, not only are these guys 2 veterans, 2 former Pro Bowlers, these are 2 guys who are playmakers. I mean, you look at Matt Judon and his sack numbers over the past 3 years. He's been amongst the league's best. Even last year, he had 4 sacks in 4 games. So he adds to a defensive line that desperately needed some guys to get in there and force pressure. And then you add a guy in Justin Simmons, like you guys mentioned. They form probably the best safety duo in the league after the season Jesse Bates just had. And this is a guy in Justin Simmons who you could kind of move all over the field. He could play in the box. He could play deep, kind of similar to Jesse Bates, where they're going to make plays. They're good ball hawks. They're going to get a shit ton of interceptions, and they're going to make plays. And then on one side, you have a lockdown corner in AJ Terrell. They still have a young piece in Arnold Ebiketie, who I'm decently high on. Still, I haven't given up on him yet. You have a guy in Grady Jarrett who, if he could stay healthy, he's also a guy who, he's a veteran, a former Pro Bowler, but he's a guy who makes plays. And, you know, for what this team has on the offensive side of the ball, I mean, I think that's all they really need. They don't need to have, you know, the best defense in the NFL, but a defense that can make plays, force some turnovers, get the offense some extra possessions. And I think these two moves really move the needle in that regard. So
who do you think is happier, the Falcons or Matthew Judon from getting out from that New England shit?
I think everyone's happy because, like you mentioned, the Patriots made out well. A third-round pick for an aging veteran when you're a team that has really no aspirations of winning anything. I think they made out well. So
I feel like, I don't know. Me personally, I feel like a second would have not even been bad.
Yeah, but it's tough with a guy
because he's old,
32 and
And he's
coming
on a
off
contract. And he's on a contract year.
and
too,
in a contract
so.
year. So a third round pick. I mean, at this point, if you're the Pats, you're
Take what you can get.
you're getting as many assets as you can, bro. Your roster's bare. Like this team is horrendous. It's awful. Like, and this changes my outlook for the Patriots too. They might be on a fast track to getting the first overall pick right now. Like. This makes a massive difference. You lost Christian Barmore for likely the season, I think because of blood clots. So best of luck to him. And then Matthew Judon, obviously you trade him now. So, bro, the Pats are heading fast towards that first overall pick, man. This team is gonna suck.
Yeah,
This team's gonna suck.
Yeah.
So I mean, it'll be intriguing. I'm excited for it. Bro, just football. We need football.
I need it. All right. So before we move on. After the Falcons trading for Matthew Judon, where do they rank amongst NFC teams? So I'm going to name some teams. You guys tell me if you're taking that team or the Atlanta Falcons.
all right.
We'll start with just real quick, all three teams in the division, the entire NFC South, the Bucks, the Patriots, the Bucks, the Panthers, and the Saints.
None of them.
They're above all three. Yeah. by
Yeah,
far.
absolutely.
Head and shoulders, in my personal opinion.
You can
All right.
combine like all three teams. Still
Take the best players from each
Nah,
team.
I don't agree with that, but yes.
All right, we'll go to the NFC North. We got the Minnesota Vikings,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Falcons.
Falcons?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Obviously the Falcons.
the Chicago Bears,
Falcons.
the Green Bay Packers.
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 Falcons.
You're taking the Falcons?
The Packers are too young for me to. I feel like Packers aren't a lock to win the division. Falcons are.
But do they have to win the division?
They don't have to, but I feel like if you're seeing like a 2-7 seed combination at the playoffs,
I mean, that's a huge advantage, especially if,
if Atlanta,
say,
Right.
these
I'm
teams
saying-
have to verse each other.
I'm saying if Atlanta plays Green Bay in the playoffs, I think Atlanta smokes them, low key.
What?
Smokes is crazy.
I don't know about Smokeston, but I do agree that
I don't think it's crazy to say the
What?
Falcons are better.
I think Atlanta having home field advantage will definitely matter. Like if Green Bay has to go on the
And-
road.
Yeah, I think Atlanta not having to play in Lambeau
That
will,
is
will
the
make
bigger
will make
difference.
a bigger
Yeah, I don't
difference,
think necessarily that Atlanta having just not having to go to Lambeau is the biggest deal there. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I still think
That's what
either way.
No, but that's the point, though. If the Falcons
Yeah.
make the playoffs, they're guaranteed at least one. Because ideally, they're going to win the division, so they're guaranteed a home playoff game.
yeah, I would take the Packers either way. But
Yeah, I'll take Green
Okay.
Bay.
Nah, I'm still
The Lions, we're taking the Lions.
Taking the
Oh,
Lions,
for
yeah.
sure.
In the East, the Cowboys,
The Atlanta Falcons.
Falcons.
Yeah, Falcons.
the Eagles,
The Eagles.
Eagles.
and what's the other division? The West.
Hey, whoa, you forgot a team.
Come on, bro.
Got two, bro.
Come on,
Yeah,
bro.
man, come on, bro.
Come on, bro.
You forgot a team.
All right,
Yeah,
in the
fuck
West,
Commanders.
the Seattle Seahawks,
The
It's
Falcons.
obviously the Falcons.
the Los Angeles Rams,
The Falcons.
Given all the injuries that the Rams are dealing with right now, I'm going to take the Falcons.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't be surprised though if the Rams.
Oh, no, I
if they-
agree.
If
It's
they play
just
the playoffs, I'd
now Stafford's already dealing with something. Puka's already dealing with something. You know, Cup probably something's going to pop up. So I'll take the Falcons.
49ers,
49ers.
yeah. For
and the Cardinals.
Depending on the Ayuk
Falcons.
situation. I think.
As things stand right
honest,
now.
I would low key say still even. I wouldn't be surprised if the Falcons were to beat the Niners in a playoff game.
Yeah, I agree.
I wouldn't be surprised.
But I'm definitely taking the Niners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take the Niners for now.
And then the Falcons over the Cardinals.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So they're like a top 5, top
Yes.
6 team in the NFC.
this makes the NFC deeper for sure, given like them reinforcing
Yeah, I mean,
their roster.
they're in the mix.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
this puts them in the mix. I don't know how high in the mix, but they're they're a part of them.
You got to see him play first. You still got to
Yeah.
see what version of Kirk you're getting off of
Yeah.
torn Achilles.
On paper, they're
Right.
definitely in the mix.
Yeah.
So.
On paper for sure.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, interesting. All right, let's do this. Now we're going to jump directly into ranking our fantasy wide receivers on a tier list.
Yeah, that's enough for real football. Now let's get into fake football.
Yes. I know a lot of you guys are probably having your drafts. Some of us have already had our draft. Well, not us, but one of us has already had a
Chris
draft.
had a nice draft last night.
Chris
huh?
had a big time draft last night. You want to talk about your top 2 picks?
No.
Oh, man. By the way, just a little hint.
One of them
This
is here
guy
with us.
involved.
Yeah.
This guy is involved. So Chris is the biggest Marvin fan. So,
All right.
let's do this.
You guys could see the tier list, I think. All right. So the tiers are guys who could be the wide receiver 1 overall, guys who we think are locks to be top 12 wide receiver 1s, high-end wide receiver 2s, low-end wide receiver 2s / high-end wide receiver 3s. We have some flex plays, and then we have some of the younger guys, the upside shots. I was saying before the show, the last 2 tiers can kind of be interchangeable based on how your team construction is. If you drafted a bunch of safer guys with higher floors in the beginning rounds and you want to take an upside shot, maybe you draft one of the guys in that tier over, a guy we're going to have in the flex tier we mentioned before, like a Chris Godwin. So those 2 tiers, it kind of depends on your team buildup, but they're going to be like around your wide receiver 30s to 40s, kind of those 10 right there. It'll probably be like 5 and 5. So, all right, we'll get right into it. So the first guy, I think it's a no-brainer. He goes into the wide receiver 1 overall tier. It's CeeDee Lamb.
Give him his money.
Pay the man. Please. Please. Pay the man.
Do you have
Terry?
him in your dynasty league?
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. And it says DNR next to his name, and I'm not happy about it. Pay the man.
Did not receive money. That's what DNR
God
means.
damn. Yeah, did not. No. What are we doing, Jerry? Come on.
I think Jerry's waiting to die.
Bro, my top
Hurry up.
2. My top 2 are not getting contracts right now.
You gotta get in the,
Jamar.
you gotta get in the talks, man.
Yeah, Jamar started.
CD and Jamar, bro, are not
So
getting deals.
All right, we'll get to it when we get to Jamar, I guess. But yeah, we can move on for now.
Oh, God.
Okay. Next up, another. Oh no, not a no-brainer. I don't know why it's in this order, but we got Jalen Waddle up next. So,
Yeah, it definitely got randomized a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I have Jalen Waddle currently as my wide receiver. I have him at 12 on the dot. So
I believe I also have him on 12.
I have him at
12.
12 on the dot,
up to me, I'd put him in that
yeah.
first tier. Listen, I know you could be kind of turned off by the fact that he plays with Tyreek Hill, but you got to keep in mind this is one of, if not the most explosive offenses in the league that he's playing on. Tua could erupt for 5 touchdowns in any single game. We've seen it time and time again. And Jalen Waddle is a guy who, I've mentioned it numerous times, has cakewalked his way into 1,000 yards over his three seasons so far. Even last year, only playing in 14. See, I don't even have to look it up. I have it on muscle memory now. Playing in 14 games last year, he got 1,000 touchdowns. He's a guy who I think
he scored a lot of fantasy points.
He got 1,000 yards.
1,000 touchdowns.
And
Holy
I think
shit.
if I'm remembering correctly, only scored 4 touchdowns. So you look at that and you think, hey, over a 17-game pace, this is a guy who could get near 1,300 yards. And if he could get those double-digit touchdowns, he's a guy who could easily be a wide receiver 1.
So while I agree that he could be a wide receiver 1, I'm not comfortable putting him in wide receiver 1 territory. I have him as a high-end wide receiver 2, even though he's ranked in my top 12, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think he's a lock for a wide receiver 1. So I'm not. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say a lock either.
All right, so we'll put him
I
in
say
the
he has
high-end
wide
wide
receiver
receiver
1
2.
upside.
Yeah.
High end
I
two,
completely
high end
agree.
2 with upside for sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
Okay, awesome.
All right, next up, a guy who might be in the same tier or he might be a tier above. We got Nico Collins up next.
So I have Nico one spot behind Waddle at 13. How high? Where do you guys have him? Curious.
17.
17.
Wide receiver 17. I'm the lowest. I know that for a fact, I believe.
I have
would've-
Nico Collins I have him one spot above Waddle. I have him in wide receiver 11.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
you would put him in wide receiver 1.
Yeah, I think this is a guy who he's stamped the number 1 target on his team. I know, they just traded
I
for
think so
Diggs.
too. Yeah.
They have Tank Dell, many men like Brian Robinson, but I think this is the guy. I know his splits without Tank Dell are kind of night and day, but I think he did enough in the time without Tank Dell to show that he's the true alpha on this team. And this is a guy who, if he is the true alpha on this team, he's playing with one of the ascending young quarterbacks who some people already have as a top 5 quarterback. The offense projects to score a shit ton of points. And this was a guy who was, insanely efficient last year. He was second in the league in yards per out run. He was at 3.1 yards per out run. And for good measure, good is normally about 2 yards per out run. So he was second in the league behind Tyreek Hill, who was ridiculous with a 3.82. But he had 1,300 yards. He had 7 touchdowns. This is another guy who, if he gets to that double-digit touchdowns, his upside shoots up immediately. And I think it's, even if the yards go down a little, Nico Collins is a guy who could easily get not even just double digits. I could see him with 12 to 15 touchdowns in this offense. So,
yeah. So, I love Nico Collins and another guy that on my dynasty squad, but I do fear the fact that he is in an offense with Tank Dell, with Stephon Diggs. And that's kind of why I'm not comfortable putting him in wide receiver 1 just yet. I think he's a high-end wide receiver 2, in my personal opinion. If he's your wide receiver 2, walking out of a draft with Nico Collins as wide receiver 2, that's a massive, massive W.
No. I think we saw a guy like Brandon Ayuk, who was in an offense last year with so many mouths to feed, and he didn't get the volume of a lot of other guys. He only had, I think he had 104 targets last year, and most of the top guys, you look at their numbers, they're like 140, 150 targets. Brandon Ayuk was just so damn good and so damn efficient that the volume didn't matter. And we saw what Nico Collins' efficiency was last year. So I think he's a guy who he doesn't need insane, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill volume to be a wide receiver 1.
Yeah, this kind of goes along to your point. Second in the league in yards after catch per reception too. It's crazy efficiency, but I don't know. Me personally, high-end wide receiver 2 in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I'm there with you. Like I said, I thought I was the highest on him, but I have him 1 spot behind Waddle. So I'd put him right behind
You guys
Waddle.
would put him
personally.
behind Waddle? You would put him behind Waddle?
I would put him behind Waddle.
Nah, I'd put him in. I would same tier as well. I'd put him in front of him. I think.
Yeah.
I agree with Matt in the point that it's a loaded offense, so you don't know how the. I can't think right now.
I know what you're trying to say.
Come on.
You don't know how the target share is gonna look
Yep.
like, but I do agree with your point too. I think he has established himself as the wide receiver 1 on that team, like the alpha. I'm a big Tank Dell guy.
I fear
but
Tank Dell, man. I do.
I think their connection is crazy, and I also have Tank Dell in Dynasty, so that's.
I
why.
think.
But I think I do agree with. I think he's gonna get enough to the point that he's gonna kind of have similar stats to last year, maybe even better. It's also just maybe regardless. I feel like Nico. Everyone has their thing, Tank is their deep threat, and so
is Nico.
Yeah, but he could also. Play
I think
they all do.
They're not the same player, but I think
Yeah.
Brandon Ayuk's season from last year is a really good
Comparison,
benchmark
yeah.
to look at for when you're trying to stat out a Nico Collins, and maybe it won't be to that level. Maybe it'll be a little bit worse, but I think it's a very, very good benchmark. Brandon Ayuk last year was 101 targets, actually. Nico Collins was 109.
Yep.
Nico Collins had 80 receptions. Ayuk had 75. Nico was 1,297 yards. Ayuk was 1,342. Nico had 8 touchdowns, and Ayuk had 7. So it's very, very, very similar years. So I really don't see a world where Nico Collins isn't able to repeat that. Even with Diggs, I just don't think it's going to take away from him.
The other thing about Diggs is the investment in him isn't that great. He's on a 1-year deal. They're prepared for it to possibly not work out. And I just think he's I think he's just the best wide receiver on the team and has the rapport with Stroud and is going to be Stroud's go-to.
I personally would still put him over Waddle.
I would put him over Waddle. I think his ceiling is so much higher than Jalen Waddle. I think you got to put him. I think these are guys with similar floors, but Nico Collins has a...
Also, going back to that, you think something that the Niners have that the Texans don't is, a man called Christian McCaffrey. So the fact that he's still doing that with Christian McCaffrey in his backfield is kind of crazy.
Yeah, Ayuk is just unreal too.
So I think I know what you're trying. I do.
I just mean it's similar in regards to
I'm saying
there's a lot of mouths to feed.
I would also say Nico Collins is in a better scenario too because you don't have Christian McCaffrey. You have Joe Mixon, which
You have less mouths to feed.
There's
Yeah.
a clearer path to Nico Collins being a true dominant alpha and demanding a larger workload and being a true like alpha dog number one than Brandon Ayuk would have in.
And Jalen Waddle in Miami.
Yeah.
But I just think Waddle's floor is so safe if he's healthy, because he is the clear cut too. Like,
Is
and
Nico
there
Collins
will be games.
floor not safe though?
I think.
I'm scared, bro. I really fear Tank. I'm not gonna lie, I fear Tank Dell. I do. And then Diggs is way better than anybody else on that Dolphins offense. He will, regardless of anything, he will demand some level of
Yeah,
target.
he's gonna be
for sure.
involved. Yeah.
Dalton Schultz is still there too, so it's just
Schultz is also really good.
No, there's a
Mixon's
lot
like
of
a pass
guys.
catching back,
Just I just feel like Nico Collins is just clearly the best.
I don't mind if you put him over Waddle, but I just don't think
Yeah.
you should put him in the wide receiver.
Yeah,
two.
Yeah, they're in the both. They're in the
I think
same boat to
Nico's
me then.
ceiling is definitely higher. I just feel better about Waddle's floor.
I agree with that.
So next up is a guy who I have as my wide receiver 10 currently. It's Devontae Adams. How do we feel about Devontae Adams this
I think
year?
I might be the lowest on Adams. I think I have him at 14.
Nope,
which,
I'm the lowest.
Oh, you are?
16.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I hate drafting Devontae. Like, I do not want any stock of Devontae Adams on my fantasy teams. And, I mean, I just feel like he has everything against him except the fact that he's just Devontae Adams. I mean, it's not even like a name value thing. Like, the guy is still clearly one of the best receivers in the NFL. But, man, he's got Gardner Minshew throwing him the ball. And then you look, and this guy was, wide receiver 3 with Aiden O'Connell throwing him the ball, and Minshew just supported good Michael Pittman.
He wasn't wide receiver.
No, he wasn't 3, but he was pretty no, not last year. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right.
But he got 180
He
targets.
was like top 12 or something. Like,
He
was
got
top,
180
he was something.
targets.
He was around there.
Yeah, he was
It was just
Yeah.
the Devontae Adams experience was horrendous. 'Cause
Right.
You had weeks where it was legitimately 3 points.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, got locked up by
drafted him.
Snead.
or traded for him.
it wasn't even that he got locked up. It's that you don't have a quarterback that can
Right.
get him the football.
Yeah.
Like, and yes, we saw Michael Pittman have a good season last year in fantasy football. And look, I'll still happily put Devontae Adams in a high-end wide receiver too, but you're capped because your offense is bad.
Right.
It's a bad offense, and you're capped. Like, Michael Pittman is great, and he's not Devontae Adams, so I agree with that. But I don't think Devontae Adams can finish in the top 8 or 9 of wide receivers. I don't
No, I
think
don't
that's
think
in the
so
realm
either.
of possibility for Devontae. Crazy enough to say that I don't think that's in
yeah.
the realm of possibility. So I think the offense is so bad that I rule him out of wide receiver 1 for sure.
Yeah, I'm actually I have him at wide receiver 10 off of just who he is, but I have to move him down a little because yeah, I mean, you're just right about everything. And I mean, these stats about like kind of what was left on the table last year due to the quarterback play, they're ugly. He was 69th among wide receivers in catchable target rate at a 66.9%. He had 15.6 fantasy points per game. His expected fantasy points per game was 22, so it was a 6.42 difference. And then in terms of like unrealized air yards, so like air yards that he didn't catch or that were literally left on the table, he was number 1 with 1,088.
There it is. Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
we remember the clips of Jimmy Garoppolo just sailing it.
Dude, he's literally
Not even
begging.
close.
He's literally begging for a different
The
quarterback.
thing with Devontae Adams, though, is the opportunity will be there.
Yes.
I mean, you look at his target share, his target rate, all that stuff. He's top 2, top 1, top 3 in air yards, like the top 10 in deep targets, top 2 in red zone targets. Like the opportunity will be there. So, if that catchable target rate somehow jumps from 66.9 to like, I don't know, like 74, we're looking at is that possible with Aiden O'Connell / Gardner Minshew? I don't know, but if that jumps up to like a 74, we're looking at Devontae Adams completely differently.
Yeah.
Completely differently.
For sure.
The opportunity will be there. So, if you look at maybe come fantasy playoff time, if Gardner Minshew / Aiden O'Connell kind of get into a late season stride and get going, Devontae Adams might be the trade target of fantasy football this year. So, he's a guy who, given where he's going, I'm probably not drafting him right now. But he's a guy who I'm definitely keeping my eye on, because
So
if some of these numbers change in terms of like what's catchable and the quarterback play he gets, then it's a different outlook for him.
yeah, so I'm on Sleeper right now, and I'm looking at the ADP. His ADP on Sleeper is 17 on the dot. He's ahead of Puka Nacua, Drake London. I can't believe Puka's behind him, actually, but he's ahead of Puka, he's ahead of Drake London, he's ahead of Olave. I mean, it's just...
You're drafting Devontae Adams, and this is one of our favorite things to say, at his ceiling this season. At his absolute peak.
Yeah.
This is what you hope Devontae Adams is this season.
Yeah, when you're drafting a guy in the... Sorry to cut you off, but
No, you're
when
fine.
you're drafting a guy in the middle of the second round, you're hoping he can ascend to the level of a first-round player, and I just don't think you're going to get that with Devontae. So
I just, real quick, do you trust Aiden O'Connell?
no.
Do you trust Gardner Minshew?
Probably more than O'Connell, but still no.
There's your answer.
Yeah.
Devontae Adams is not a wide receiver one, and I would personally have him below both of those guys. Even though
would
I have
too.
Nico below him in my rankings, I think I want to adjust that. So I would personally have Devontae below Waddle and Nico
I would
Collins,
agree, yeah.
personally, in that wide receiver, high-end wide receiver too. Although Devontae hasn't lost a step, by the way.
No,
I mean,
that's the biggest thing to
He
keep in
was
mind.
still
is
wide
that-
receiver 10 last year in PPR formats, and it was.
171 targets, bro.
But like, is that gonna change?
Yeah.
I think so. I do. I'm not thinking
Brock
it's.
Bowers moves the offense like that.
I don't think it drops to like
And your running back is White now.
140, 150. But I think
It should.
you
yeah,
lose
it
about
should
10 to 15
still, yeah, it should
targets.
still be like 165 plus, probably.
I think
I
160.
think 150 plus.
I would bet him for 155 to 160 targets, but in a bad offense. Again, like,
I don't
and then there
know.
is
It's
Jacoby
just like-
Myers, there is Brock Bowers, there
I
is
feel
Michael
like
Myers.
we might like I'm gonna move him down my rankings. I'm gonna move him out of wide receiver one territory, but I don't know. I feel like we might be overthinking it. It's
I
Devontae
don't.
Adams. Like he's still.
He's so
It was
long.
bad last year, and he was still the wide receiver 10.
But that's why we're also saying he's a high-end wide receiver too.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
we're not saying that he's washed,
Right, so if
booked,
you
he's
go-
done.
But I mean,
Yeah,
if you really
yeah.
think about it though, you're not getting the like unless you draft two receivers, Devontae's most likely going to be your wide receiver one.
I agree, but I'm looking at him as a fantasy asset as I want him as my wide receiver too.
Yeah.
So I ask you this question, and this is all this will determine it. Do you feel comfortable with Devontae Adams as your wide receiver one in fantasy football this season in a redraft?
I guess not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
not
unless I-
where
would
he's
definitely-
Yeah, not where he is, yeah.
not
don't
where
feel
he's
comfortable
getting.
with
But if I
drafted.
got him at like, if he slipped to like the 2-3 turn,
If I got him in the
And I
third
go-
round, I'd
right.
be doing
right?
backflips.
Yeah.
I can't do backflips.
Yeah, if
but
I
I'll
was
do backflips.
getting one of these guys that I have near him though to be the wide receiver 2, then like I have DK at 16. If I was leaving my first 3 rounds with I don't know, let's say Bijan or Brees, and then Devontae makes it to me in the second round, I take him there, and then I take a DK Metcalf and even reach on him and take him in the third round to secure that wide receiver 2. I don't know if I'm over the moon. I'm
feel good.
not sad.
I don't think you're targeting that, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm targeting it, but I don't. If
There's
I
too
get
many guys around him for you to draft
Yeah.
Devontae. You're not drafting Devontae Adams. That's for damn sure. You are not
So,
drafting Devontae
I mean, the
Adams
question is
right now.
as far as where we're putting him in a tier, in a vacuum, would you rather Devontae Adams or Jalen Waddle on your team?
I would rather have
Jalen-
in a vacuum.
I've drafted Jalen Waddle over him. Like I'd
Right.
rather have Jalen Waddle, but it's really picking hairs. So like
I'd probably have. I have him above him in my rankings, but
Waddle could score more touchdowns, but again, Devontae could just get 170 targets
Yeah.
again,
I think
and
I would. I think I just like the upside of the fact that Devontae's demand.
yeah, he could just be the wide receiver 10.
of the target share.
I
Yeah,
don't
so
mind
it's-
where he goes in that high end wide receiver too. But he does not touch wide receiver one for me.
Right. Yeah. It's
Okay.
you like the player, you hate obviously you hate the situation, but you also hate the capital, the draft capital.
If you switch situations with any of these guys on this in that high end wide receiver too, we wouldn't even be talking about this. He'd be an
If you switch his situation with maybe any of the top 40 receivers on my list. I feel like I'm not even exaggerating. I think if he's on almost any other team in the NFL, I'd feel better
I'd
about
feel
his
better
situation.
about it. Yeah, I would agree with you, honestly.
Unreal. Get him
Yeah.
out of there. Free Devontae.
All right.
Free Tay.
The next guy is Chris Olave, and I'm going to let you guys talk about him because Tyreek Hill's headshot isn't on this tier list. So I'm going to add him while you guys talk about Chris Olave.
For me personally, I have Olave as a wide receiver 1. That I might be alone on this one. I have Olave as my wide receiver 10. I feel very comfortable about Olave being my I mean, it's tough because there are only about 7 guys that I'd legitimately feel, maybe 8, comfortable as my set wide receiver 1 in fantasy football right now.
Yeah.
Only like 8 guys. Then you start getting into the territory of it's like, I'd prefer he was my wide receiver 2, but I do think he finishes as a wide receiver 1 in fantasy football. I have him top 10, and I think Olave is going to have a much better season this year. I mean, look, he was in one of the most outdated offenses in the NFL last year. Very little motion. Nobody helped Olave get open. There was none of that. I think this is an offense that is more suited for Olave to show off his talent. Derek Carr figured it out down the stretch of last season, too. Much better down the stretch last year. I think Derek Carr will have a better year. I think Chris Olave will have a better year. There's no doubting the talent of Chris Olave. Right. I don't think anyone here will say that Chris Olave is not a wide receiver 1 talent, but it's just the situation that gives you a little pause. But I personally think it's going to be much better this year. I think he's going to be in line for 150 to 160 targets. Who's the wide receiver 2?
I had Olave in a league last year, and it was very it was very frustrating having Olave because he finished the wide receiver 16. So you look at it and you're like, it's not too bad. But I just remember, I traded him away because I'm like, I just don't get any explosive games. Like you get 16, 17-point games sometimes, but it's more like 15, 14. And when you have a wide receiver 1, that's just not, you need those 25, 30-point bombs once in a while. So it's am I going to get that from Olave? I have him at 15 currently, a spot below Adams. So
That's
I'm not
exactly how I just updated my rankings. I have Tay at 14 and Olave at 15.
Yeah, I'm not putting Olave into that wide receiver 1 tier. I just don't trust the consistency of the Saints offense.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Saints ceiling too is just like mediocre, It's just mid. It's mid.
Mediocrity at its finest is pretty much
It's
been
just
New
not
Orleans Saints football since Dennis
I think
Allen
it's a
got
better
there.
situation than Devontae, though. Very clearly a better
But
situation. than
Devontae also has more of a clear path to opportunity.
Yeah.
Does he?
Yes, bro. He just got 175 targets, bro. And 180 the year before that.
I feel like
Who's the wide receiver 2 for this team? I mean, I think it's a similar situation. I just think that
I'll
they have a better
guarantee you
quarterback.
that maybe Olave will finish better in fantasy football. I have them ranked back to back, so I'm not ruling that out, but I guarantee Devontae Adams will have more targets.
Olave had 138 targets last year, which is a lot. He had 5 touchdowns. I don't think it's not guaranteed he gets like 8 or 9 touchdowns. I don't think it is. Just don't think the Saints offense is that good. And then they use fucking Taysom Hill when they're down there to get the ball in the end zone. Like
Devontae Adams, if it doesn't work out, could still be the wide receiver 10.
Yeah.
Chris Olave, if it doesn't work out, could be the wide receiver 20.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm much more, especially if I'm drafting one of these guys to be my wide receiver 1, I'm much more comfortable with Devontae Adams.
Yeah, I would agree.
Much more.
Okay. I mean, that's fine. I believe more in Olave.
JC, who are you drafting? If they're both staring you on the clock, Chris Olave.
Which they are back to back. So
yeah.
Nah,
very...
I'm still taking. I don't know. I've drafted Devontae the past 2 years. I've drafted him as my both times basically wide receiver 1.
Yeah, you had to. That was the price. Yeah.
And it's just Devontae Adams. I feel like quarterback wise, it doesn't matter.
Think he's
Same thing
quarterback
with Jets.
proof?
I think he's quarterback proof. I think at least I feel like Gardner Minshew's gonna win the starting job. I say in their current this year, I don't think Derek Carr is very much better than Gardner Minshew. I like Derek Carr. I'm not a huge fan of him. I don't think he has always a slow start, and it's just that Saints offense. It's just weird. So, I think Devontae will just be a better I think we'll just have a better performance in Olave if things don't go right.
I mean, I totally understand that. I think they're both in line for big target
Just put it
shares,
this
but
way: Michael Pittman had like a similar season to Chris Olave. And,
Yeah.
and now you're talking about
Get better.
someone that's better than, probably even better.
yeah, I mean, if you were an Olave owner, you definitely weren't necessarily happy last year.
You were not.
Yeah.
He was
Let me tell you.
decently consistent.
He was,
wasn't
but it
really
was like
smoking you
12.
out of
It was like
games.
12, 13 points. Like
Yeah,
he wasn't losing you games, but like when you have a guy, and like I drafted him with high expectations. I think I took him around like the 2-3 turn, and like you want explosive games. Like you need him to win you weeks, and he just wasn't doing that. And
He also dealt with some injuries last year.
for
too.
sure, yeah.
But so does everybody, I guess.
Also, I do feel like this year, Michael Thomas being gone is both a good and bad thing because Michael Thomas still draws attention when he's on the field, and now he's the only. Besides him, who you throwing to?
I don't know if Michael Thomas drew any attention at this point.
He was-
I looked. He played 10 games. He had
did
7.
decent.
He had I think 75 targets. I saw. No, that can't be right.
No way. No way. But Michael Thomas wasn't terrible when he was healthy.
Yeah,
He wasn't terrible, but
But I'm saying he's the only.
Oh no,
player.
he was the wide receiver 75. He had 64 targets though. I wasn't too far off.
yeah, I mean, I'm in an Olave this year, but I'd prefer him as my wide receiver too. That's
I
just
just
me.
feel like for what he's
Yeah.
done, it's like you want to have high hopes for him, but
It's him, Garrett Wilson, Drake London are all the same player. Have had the
I
same
mean, it's
careers
been the
for
same
fantasy.
situation
Yeah.
for all three.
Right,
It
yeah,
really
yeah.
has. It's been bad quarterback play or bad offenses that have led to them
Both,
underwhelming.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
all three are ridiculously talented.
Right.
There's no doubts about that, but it's just, I don't know. I think Olave will be far better this year. I think his talent wins out. I really do. Then this is the Chris Olave year.
All right.
So he's last on that list of the.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Right now.
Okay.
All right, next up we got Cooper Kupp, who I currently have as my wide receiver 20. He is the wide receiver. I don't know.
He's
Yeah,
in
he's
there.
my wide
21 on sleeper.
Okay. He's my wide receiver 20 as well. If this Puka injury lingers into the regular season, I move him up even further.
Yeah, I moved him up. I have him at 16. I moved him up after hearing about the Puka injuries, and it's not like this is a new thing for Puka Nacua. And the reports out of camp. I know you can't take everything out of training camp to heart, but I mean he does have that rapport with Matt Stafford. Kupp, it really just comes down to availability for him and Stafford, obviously, because I think once they get to the red zone, he's still the number one guy, even with Nacua there. So, but I like Kupp, but I'd put him probably at the end of that B tier. Well, no, the B tier is what, high end twos?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'm not putting him there.
I can't. I can't. I would love to. I mean, Cooper Kupp, the Triple Crown, but I have him as wide receiver low end wide receiver 2 / high end wide receiver 3. That's where I would personally put him.
Yeah,
So Cruz, make your case because I know you're thinking about it.
Nah, I think I'd still take him. I mean, from what we heard from training, it's training camp at the end of the day, but people are saying he's coming back to that form, like the 2021 form, where he's like Triple Crown King, whatever. I don't know. I think I'd still rather have him than Olave this year.
Really?
Wow.
I would.
it's high praise.
I'm gonna be honest. This whole like Waddle over Devontae to me is kind of crazy. I'm I'm high on Waddle. I'm not that high. I would argue too. I'd rather have him high. I'd rather have Kupp. Like looking at them as wide receiver 2s, I think I'd rather have Kupp than Waddle.
Really?
Yeah, I think last year he got injured. I think he's due for some regression, positive regression. I think he's.
Do you get healthier?
I mean,
as you
Waddle's
get
not
older?
Waddle's not the picture of health either, but he is much.
I was about to
younger,
say that.
He is
But
much
do you
younger.
get healthier when you get older?
No. But
That's my problem with Kupp.
I agree, but
I think I would take Devontae over Waddle too.
God,
I think we already did
bro,
this.
here's my problem because my rankings suck, man. Because like when it's staring me in the face,
yeah,
I know,
I'm, gonna be
I'm
honest,
moving
not
him
like
around.
about,
ADPs matter
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Because like you could get Waddle.
Yeah,
late
I'd
third.
rather have Waddle on my team given where he's going, but who do I think will have a better fantasy football season? Shit, I'm
think it's
probably
Waddle.
going to go with the guy who I think is going to get 170 targets.
I don't know, man.
I'm cool with
I'm still going
130 from
Waddle.
Waddle, man. I'm cool with 130 targets in an offense that's going to score a bunch of points.
I just like
Personally,
I think the Raiders don't have.
how much worse could it get for Devontae than last year?
Yeah.
it can get worse.
No, we saw. No, I think Gardner.
It could get worse, but how much worse?
What was Michael Pittman last year? Wide receiver.
I'll say it like this. I think Devontae Adams'
Like Devontae had
floor
1100.
and ceiling are not far from each other. I think it is potentially the lowest gap between floor
Yeah,
and
but his
ceiling.
floor is so high.
That's what I'm saying. It's the
I know, but
lowest.
he has a high
gap.
floor.
But are you drafting him where he's at?
Right. So what's the difference between his ceiling and Waddle's? Because if we're just
think-
ranking them, then where they're getting drafted doesn't come into play.
So what's scary about Waddle is his floor is a lot lower.
Right. Of course.
But his ceiling, I mean, we've seen him.
I don't
be
know
wide
if
he was wide receiver.
7.
Yeah, he was wide receiver 7.
Like, I think it is entirely in the realm of
I
possibility.
think these guys have similar ceilings, and I think Devontae has a much
know.
safer floor.
I think Waddle has the potential to
I
score
think
9 or 10 touchdowns.
Devontae was 1,108 last year. Like, how much off of maybe the touchdowns go down a little bit? But, like, he should really be.
He's gonna reach 1,000 yards again.
Yeah, there's no way he doesn't get to 1,000 yards.
He was averaging like 8 to 10 targets a
There's
game.
no way he doesn't get 100
even more,
receptions.
yeah.
Like,
I just wanna look at Devontae real quick and show you guys the floor level that this can get. Like, it could get real bad. It could get ugly for this man. Last year,
he's going to have bad weeks.
But
Like,
that's
the Raiders are
very
going to have
bad
bad
weeks.
weeks. But, like,
4.9, 2.1, 7.4, 1.4. Like, yeah, I get that he had some spike weeks, but bro, that's such a low bar on a week. He's losing you weeks.
yeah,
it
but he
gets
could
to that
also
point.
win you a lot of weeks.
Yeah. I agree with that.
I don't know. It's just not consistently there enough for me.
Like, there's also going to be games where Jalen Waddle isn't too involved in the Dolphins' offense. Like, Jalen Waddle is going to have dud weeks, too.
Devontae had 2 games last year over 20 targets.
That's insane.
But
But, like, we could see him have a game with 20 targets again this year, too. Why not?
it's just disgusting.
Like, why not? If he got 20 targets in a game last year, why can't he get 20? Why can't
Waddle
he?
played 3 fewer games, had 100 fewer receiving yards.
No, I think Waddle is going to be great. I do think Waddle probably has a higher ceiling, but I think Devontae's floor is a lot. I think what he did last year is probably about his floor, give or take.
I agree.
It depends on what I'm looking
Like,
for.
maybe not wide receiver 10's his floor, but like wide receiver, I don't know.
Wide receiver
14,
like 17,
15,
16,
yeah.
17 is his 4. But his ceiling is wide receiver 10 or 9 or 10.
Yeah,
That's why I'm saying it's such a small gap between the two. So,
Right, and like again, how much higher is Jalen Waddle's ceiling? And I think we could all agree Jalen Waddle has a
Around
lower
8 to
floor.
10, yeah, and I feel like his floor is around 20.
I think it's easy.
I don't hate it.
Honestly,
I don't
now
hate
that I'm
what you guys
thinking,
are saying.
it's Devontae over Waddle.
and that's fine.
Yeah,
That's totally fine.
I'm gonna switch it. All right, we've ranked 5 guys.
Yeah, we got to we got to get to
All right,
work.
Cooper
here.
Cup.
Low end wide
Cups,
receiver 2.
C
for me.
tier.
Yeah, you guys can go. I'll let it slide, but
All right.
I'm
I'll
just
let
saying
it
you
slide.
don't let it be.
All right.
We have also talked about some high end guys though.
Yeah.
Like
All right,
keep
It'll
that
get
in mind.
easier.
Yeah, keep that in mind.
George Pickens. I think he's low in wide receiver 2 right out after Cooper Cup for right now.
Yeah. 100%.
Oh, yeah.
That's where he goes.
I
He's
have
not.
him in
For him,
tier
it's like
Low end 2.
I have him in tier 5. I have him as a flex, but I could totally
do I
understand
have?
it being.
Yeah, yeah.
I
that's
imagine my wide receiver 25 right now.
wait, what's the?
He's the start of my tier
That's
5
not
also.
My 30. I'm a wide receiver 30 right now.
I'm at 31.
So-
George Pickens is one of those guys that has the talent, but he's not quarterback proof. And it's like,
And they might get Ayuk.
yeah,
Are we baking that in, or are we just assuming
I mean,
things
look,
stay as
I
they
think
are?
he's a better version of Cortland Sutton for Russell Wilson, and Sutton had a crazy season. But
I think the other thing is the Ayuk thing is
Yes.
practically a done deal.
that's looming.
yeah.
It's not a done deal though.
I don't know. He was wide receiver 29. I'm doing it as if Ayuk isn't there because Ayuk isn't there
I agree.
right now. But he was wide receiver 29 last year with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph and those guys. I'd like to believe Russ is a slight upgrade over that. I mean, he's
that's
a guy
fine.
who
That's fair.
should see all the targets. This is a guy who, should, I don't know what his targets were last year, but he should see some sort of an uptick. So I don't know if, again, it's fantasy football, anything could happen, but I feel like there's no way he finishes lower than he did last year.
Tank Dell or George Pickens?
Tank Dell.
Tank Dell, yeah.
T. Higgins, George Pickens.
T.
George Pickens.
I think I'd go T. Higgins.
I go T.
Terry or George Pickens?
Terry. For me,
Terry,
but I'm high on Terry.
Okay. Keenan Allen or George Pickens?
George Pickens.
Pickens.
Easy.
Pickens, yeah.
Keenan's fat now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Tight end 1.
That was so funny.
All right, one more. Rasheed Rice or George Pickens?
Rice.
Right now, the way the situation, I think I'd go Pickens just because we don't know.
I'd go.
Well, assuming no suspension.
Assuming no suspension, nothing happens to him. He's clean, I guess.
Yeah, you know the answer. You know the answer.
It's probably Rice, but
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of mouths to feed on that.
I don't know. I'm high on Pickens,
Not
though. I
Shit,
think
bro.
Yeah, it's true.
I think Pickens could easily
Hollywood, yeah.
smash his ADP and be like a top 20 guy.
Yeah.
Oh, his ceiling
no,
is
no doubt.
top
Yeah.
15.
Yeah.
But his floor is
Top 30.
30, 31.
Yeah.
I think, I literally rank
But
him
is
at
his
his
floor
floor.
30 or 31? He was a 29 last year. You really think he could be worse than last year in terms
We'll
of
say
rank?
his floor is 25.
25, 4.
Maybe
Yeah.
25 is
20
his
at
floor,
No,
Probably.
25.
but you have him at 29.
29.
You said.
But, there are other guys that I would draft over.
I'm-
So that's why,
I don't
for
think
me
Russ
personally,
is-
I don't think 25 is his floor. I think about 27, 28. It's give or take, but I don't
my
know. I
rankings
think
are just who I would draft. I mean, now that I think about it, I'd probably have George Pickens above Keenan. But yeah, regardless, there are a bunch of guys that I would draft over him. So, but
so.
I'm
You guys
okay
want
with
to put him in flex?
I'm okay with him being
I'm
a low
flex,
end
yeah,
wide
I'm
receiver too.
flex?
But I would
Yeah,
personally
We'll put him in flex
Yeah.
for now. We could always move these guys. Let's keep it pushing. So
Pushing P.
I have him one spot below George Pickens. This next guy, Devontae Smith, I have him at 26. I know you're higher on Smitty than I am, so the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm much higher on Smitty.
Where do you have Smitty?
I have Smitty at wide receiver 13.
Yeah, I'm at 17. That's
Um,
fucking high. Okay.
Which the more that I look at it, I'd probably drop him a few spots.
I'd put
But he's going
him,
no lower than high end wide receiver 2.
I'd put him in front of Cup.
Yes, I definitely agree.
Yeah.
I think
I don't
he should
think
be
he's-
in that wide receiver 2, that high end wide receiver 2 tier for me. I'm comfortable if Devontae
Why
Smith's
is he
my wide
over
receiver 2.
Cup? Just because Cup's had injury concerns the past few years?
That's definitely a part of it. Yeah.
The biggest part of it is the fact that Cup himself and Matthew Stafford deal with injuries. That is a massive.
Yeah.
That's a deep.
It is a deal. It is a deal. For some people, it's a deal. For me, it's not. I'm taking Cup over Devontae Smith every single time. I'm not even thinking about it, honestly. It's not
I also think
it's not even a thought for me. I think those two, you talk about the Stafford Cup connection. When those two were on the field, there's nothing like it. We saw it last year, even when Puka was on the field, and there Cooper Kupp still got all his targets. Smitty's a guy who I feel like Cooper Kupp can outshine Puka. And I know Smitty's really good and he'll have his games, but I feel like more times than not, it's going to be hard for a guy like Smitty to outshine A.J. Brown.
He doesn't. I don't think he has to. He was the 9 when A.J. Brown was the 6. They
Yes.
can both eat.
we've seen it already that they both can eat. And Kellen Moore doesn't mind throwing that thing. And slot receivers really do well in Kellen Moore's system. I think it's entirely possible. We all just watched, and I know Smitty's not the exact same type of player, but Keenan Allen just had the best season of his career with Kellen Moore. And I'm not saying that it's going to necessarily
not
be
a slot guy like that. Like, it's not.
Do you know what Smitty did in college as a slot guy?
I know but it's college. This is the NFL. Smitty and maybe that's just a usage thing, but Smitty in the NFL has been better as a outside receiver than in the slot.
He
Obviously,
doesn't get used in the slot.
his slot numbers are insane. He's like the most yards per out run in the slot of all time history. Yeah.
Yes. So I think when you put a guy that's this elite at route running, because that is the best part of Devontae Smith, so twitchy, and incredibly explosive off the line. I think Devontae Smith
I don't
is
know.
set for a
I
massive
just
year,
think
by the way.
I don't know. I think I'd take Cup over. I think Cup's ceiling's just higher. I don't. Yeah, he finishes a wide receiver 9, and I know Kellen Moore's there. I just don't think that's in the cards for him this year. I think they're going to be as run heavy as they've ever been before in Philly this year with the addition of Saquon. And I think A.J. Brown's that guy. I've said it before. I think A.J. Brown's going to reap the most benefits of Kellen Moore being there.
You know, like I get it, but there was this stretch with Cup last season where he wasn't even playable in fantasy football.
Well,
with
he also
Stafford.
was coming back from injury.
He had
That- yeah, that's
19.8,
definitely part of it.
27.8 coming off of injury. And then there was 6.9, 6.1, 6.8, 4.8.
No, I mean clean bill of health.
But this was
Go
after he
Cup,
came
but-
back and had 2 big games.
I'm with you. I'm putting him over. I'm putting Smitty over him. I'm just saying, like, clean bill of health. I get it. I think when you put the injuries into consideration, I'd definitely take Smitty.
Yeah,
That's me personally.
I mean,
Oh, right now Cup is healthy, and where
right, but it's not like he just happened to get injured last.
No, I
like
know. I'm just
he has a
saying,
history
though,
of injuries.
I know, but I'm saying where I'm drafting these guys. This is the 3rd or 4th guy
Right.
on my team. I'm gonna go for the upside swing with Cooper Kupp, who I just think has more upside than a Smitty.
well, that's also fair, but I personally do think the upside for Smitty is top 10. We saw that a few years ago, and now it's a different offense.
Yeah.
I mean, Brian Johnson last year, you
Can
could
you
throw
put
away
Cup ahead of
last year.
Smitty?
So,
I don't know. So I agree with Chris. Most of Chris. I think AJ Brown's that guy. And going
I'm not
back to things
disagreeing.
like Keenan Allen's year with Kellen Moore, Keenan Allen was a wide receiver 1, and look what. I mean, Mike Williams is different because he has a history, but I feel like they're just gonna give AJ Brown like insane amount of targets this year.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm not saying it's out of the range of outcomes for the Eagles offense to support 2 wide receiver 1s, but I think it's way more likely that the Rams offense, led by Matthew Stafford, supports 2 wide receiver 1s in fantasy than the Eagles. I think, anyway.
I just think
but
because
we
the Eagles are
we
run heavy
watched
too.
the Eagles do it already. Like,
Yeah.
how
I
can
mean,
we
we've
say
seen
that
the
when we-
Rams offense do it a bunch of times, too, like support 2 fantasy wide receivers.
support 2 fantasy wide receivers? I agree, but support 2 fantasy wide receiver 1s. We've quite literally watched the Eagles already do it. 6 and 9.
Bobby Trees never made it up there.
Well, I also just don't think Bobby Trees was the caliber of player that Devontae Smith was. But he
I'm
was
not
up
saying
there.
he is, but
No,
I'm
I
saying
know, but
we've
I'm just
seen,
saying.
like, if the answer is we've seen the Eagles offense do, we've also seen the Rams offense do it, is my counter to that. And I think in 2024, this year, given where both teams stand, I'd predict that if I had to predict the one offense to be more likely than the other, I'd say it's the Rams.
Why?
I think they're going to throw the ball more. I think they're going to be a more pass-heavy offense.
And who else are the targets in the Eagles offense? And you could say the same about the Rams. I'm not disagreeing. But
Saquon. I don't know. Dallas Goedert. I don't know what the
Goddard's
question.
cooked. But
He's going to be on the. What's the question is? Is going to be on the field?
He
aside
also
from
misses a
AJ
lot
Brown
of.
and-
He also always misses time.
who?
Goddard.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
He's
I
always hurt.
just think that
What's the question?
Oh, he's gonna miss
this
a few games.
is a situation where you could literally have 50% of the offense just going to these 2 guys. And I know it's the same way with Kupp and Puka, but would I rather have 50% of the offense going to a guy that potentially could get injured week 3, more likely to do so, or to Devontae Smith? Like, I think their ceilings are exactly the same, to be quite honest. I don't think Kupp has that
I don't know
top
if I could say
8
their
possibility
ceilings
anymore.
are the same. I don't know. I've seen Cup be a Triple Crown winner.
But he's 31, coming off another injury.
Yeah, but he's going in healthy. I'd rather be wrong on it than not take that chance. Again, I'm where these guys are getting drafted around the similar spots. I'm drafting for upside there. So I think Smitty's the wide receiver 20 off on sleeper right
He's
now.
About the same.
They're in
spot.
the same exact spot, basically, yeah.
He's 24. Cup's at 21. So yeah, where I'm drafting here, I'm drafting an upside play, and I just think Cup has more upside than Devontae Smith.
That's fair. I have him high in wide receiver too, but that's just me.
Who, Smitty?
Yeah.
No, I agree. I still think
So he's
up
in the
there.
same tier as Olave in them?
I don't think so. No, I'm putting him in Cup with Cup.
I'm very high on him. So, yeah. I would say I also would
You
have had
think he's
Olave
in
up
that
on.
tier?
Nah, not if Cup's not in that tier.
I agree.
Not-
I agree. If Cup's not in that tier, then I don't think Smitty is. So we'll go with that.
Okay.
Next up, we got Mike Evans.
High-end wide receiver 2 for me. And I don't really got to talk about it too much with Evans.
Yeah,
What's
I mean-
known doesn't need to be
Yeah, I
said. I
mean,
just don't think he has wide receiver
1,000
1
yards,
upside this year.
25 years in a row.
I think he has wide receiver 1 upside. Let me rephrase that. But I think losing Dave Canales and the season that Baker just had with 0 run game, I don't think it's replicable. I just don't think it's replicable. So
The thing with Mike is he could just get a bunch of touchdowns and
for sure,
and make up the difference.
for sure.
He's going to get 1,000 yards. He could get 8 touchdowns or he could get 14 touchdowns.
But are you again drafting Mike Evans comfortably as your wide receiver 1?
No.
Exactly.
Wait, so you have him in the same tier as Cup and Smitty, or?
I
No,
mean,
high-end wide receiver 2.
Oh, so the
If I'm-
Olave, Waddle. Okay, yeah, I agree.
wait. If I'm drafting Mike Evans as my wide receiver 1, I probably drafted two running backs before him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm comfortably taking him as my wide receiver 1.
I mean,
If that's the way my
guess.
draft goes, if I'm taking two dominant running backs before him, if he's my 3rd round pick and I have two running back guys that I project to be high end running back 1s on my team, then yeah.
I agree with that.
Do you think he's a wide receiver 1 overall
Yeah.
in fantasy?
I have him as a wide receiver 11.
I think.
I have him as 13.
Yeah, I think top 4. I mean, top 15 is 4 for him.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I think his floor is top 18, 17. Yes, for sure.
He's a guy who, honestly, I'd be pretty surprised if he's not top 12. I'm not going to lie.
Really?
I have him at 18, but I'm going to move him. I'm going to move him up a few
I would.
spots
I
for
think
sure.
he's just
Looking at that,
he's just the model of consistency. He's a guy who, I mean, in fantasy, it's kind of the opposite. He kind of has boom or bust weeks, but like this is a guy who over his career has shown us like his boom weeks are booming.
Week winning.
Would you draft Evans
if-
or Adams?
Huh?
Draft Evans or Adams?
Evans.
Evans?
Yeah.
Nah, I think I'm still taking Devontae. I think like looking at the list currently, I'm taking Mike
Evans,
over Olave.
because again,
over
keep
Waddle.
in mind, like you're drafting Devontae as your 2nd player. You're drafting Mike Evans to be your 3rd
Third.
player.
No, I'm
Yeah.
saying
I guess
they're staring you in the
yeah,
face.
Yeah.
Position-
If I have
Well, they're staring me in the face.
ADP out the window. I'm just
yeah,
saying
but
they're both
what's the
staring.
scenario? Are they staring me in the face where I have 2 other players on my team, or I have 1 other player on my team?
2 other players.
2 other players.
Say
Then Mike
Devontae falls to the
Evans.
3rd.
I'm taking the upside swing in
Yes.
that league winning week swing.
I agree.
If I have 2 building block running backs that I expect to be consistent, yeah, I'm taking the swing on Mike Evans every time. If I have 1 dude on my team and I'm, looking for more of a floor, I think Devontae Adams has a little bit of a higher floor just due to the sheer volume. But yeah, I think Mike Evans' upside is, Mike Evans is a guy who we could look back and he could be a top 5 guy just given the spike weeks that he could
Yeah.
have. Maybe not on a points per game basis, but a total cumulative points. He's a guy who could easily be top 5. So I think I'd put him in the wide receiver 1 tier, but if you guys want to put him in high wide receiver 2, that's fine with me. But I think he'd be at the top of that wide receiver 2.
Yeah, that's where I put him. I have Nico ranked quite a few spots ahead of him, but I don't know that I'd take Nico or Waddle over him. So
Yeah, I personally would have him as a high
Yeah, I
wide
feel like
receiver
the
2.
only
Yeah.
guy I'm debating in that tier list is Devontae.
All right. The next guy is Michael Pittman, and I think Michael Pittman's a guy who we don't need to spend much time on. I think we could safely shove him in that low-end wide receiver
Yes.
2 range.
Yep.
It's just a matter of does he go – I know you're going to say definitely after Smitty,
After Cup 2.
after Cup 2.
yeah, after
After
Cup.
Cup.
Yeah, I'd draft Cup over him.
And you mentioned upside before. I just think Cup has far higher upside.
Yeah.
I agree. All right, the next guy – this
Sorry,
one's
Michael Pittman.
a polarizing one. We have Malik Neighbors up next. I have Malik Neighbors currently as my wide receiver 19. He's going as wide receiver 21 on Sleeper right now.
Yeah, I've met
JC,
20.
how do you feel about Malik Neighbors this year, man? You get him at about the end of the 3rd round. Sometimes, if you're lucky, the beginning of the 4th.
I don't know. It's just hard trusting a rookie, especially no offense, but that Giants offense. It's just really
Oh, no.
Bro said no offense like we're on the team.
You're a fan too, aren't you?
Yeah, but the whole thing with me is really just don't get me wrong. Daniel Jones looks elite, and training camp right now. But it's like, will that be able to replicate during the season?
Yeah, I
The
don't
thing
know,
is,
And I don't. For me, I would put him right there with George Pickens. I'd consider the Cup tier and all that. I think he's ahead of George Pickens. I don't know, I'm just rookie.
man. I
wide
think he's
receivers.
above that. He's not with George Pickens.
Yeah,
I personally
would
don't
put-
think
I
he's
would-
with
nah,
George
I would
Pickens
put him
last
with
year,
that
yeah.
Pittman.
yeah.
I'd put him above Pittman, probably above Cup, below Smitty for me.
I mean, what does he get? 120 targets at least.
Yeah, I'd put him.
130.
I'd personally have him at
130?
the top of this tier, like above Smitty, above Cup, above Pittman. I'm high on Malik Neighbors. I just think
I don't hate that.
Yeah.
I'm not
think-
against it.
I think the sheer volume and just the ability to break any play off. I mean, you look at a young Odell, you look at a young Antonio Brown. Just obviously, I'm not saying he's going to be those guys, but those were some of the comps for him. So I mean, you know, the ability to take a 5-yard slant to the crib for 50 yards. I think he's going to have a bunch of huge plays this year. You put that combined with the volume that you mentioned, Tom. I mean, I think he's a guy who should easily see 125 plus targets.
Does he
so-
depend on team construction for you? Or he's
Yes.
there and
Yes.
these other guys are there? You
If
take
I
him.
have, so I'll put it like this: if I have a very safe wide receiver one, like I get one of those top.
You're getting him at the end. If you're taking him, you have to take him either early fourth or end of third. So let's say you have Garrett Wilson,
I'm perfectly confident in taking.
and then you
Malik
take
Neighbors.
whoever on the
ri-
turn, and then in the
upside.
third round
For the upside,
Yeah, okay.
for the upside for sure. Because I'm certain about what Garrett Wilson will be if Aaron
Right.
Rodgers is healthy.
But if you go 2 running backs, and then in the third round you
No
probably
shot I'm
have,
taking
you don't
Malik
take,
Neighbors.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So
I'm there too.
Yeah, I would
So-
put him above those guys.
above Smitty.
Yeah, that's fine.
I wouldn't, but I'm cool with it if you do. Because you guys.
Yeah, it's fine. Like I just think that whole thing comes into it where like you wouldn't take him in every situation, but yeah,
I mean, we can
that's
put
fine.
Smitty in front if you guys like Smitty like that. On it,
No, I'm not.
it's a consensus.
Okay, that's fine.
list.
Put him
Yeah,
behind.
put him-
Put Smitty behind.
All right, the next
I
guy
just
up.
also want quick. If Marvin Harrison wasn't in this draft, Malik Neighbors would also be considered generational. Like,
He-
Oh my God, yeah.
Malik Neighbors is the highest drafted fantasy rookie ever, other than Marvin Harrison.
yeah. So it's like. It's just
So
like-
yeah,
like, I
yeah,
think-
Some
for sure.
people actually thought Malik Neighbors was a better prospect than Marvin Harris.
Good amount,
Marvin
yeah,
Harris.
good amount of NFL
So-
people. Yeah,
Maserati.
fucking wrong.
I don't know about that, man.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry, but I don't.
I'll put my life savings on it. You could take my house,
Nah,
bro.
two different situations.
All right, if
We could do that.
Malik
yeah, we
Neighbors
could
is
do
a
that all
better
the time.
rookie season than Marv, you trade me Marv.
For Malik
4
Neighbors.
neighbors.
No, for 1 first.
Okay, then if Marv has a better season than Neighbors, you
Yep.
give me Neighbors.
Yeah, I'm not doing all
Yep.
All right, you're
All right.
scared.
that. Yeah, I am.
All right. Now that we wasted that time,
All right, next up is Amari Cooper, who I currently have as my wide receiver 24.
Ooh, why so low?
I'm at 21.
Oh my God, I have him at 18.
I don't know.
Deshaun Watson is not a good quarterback.
Yeah,
It's as simple as that
is
for
just
me.
kind of where he fell into my rankings. I think that's
I just think the guys
I
above
think
him
that's
are
the best
yeah.
way to describe it. The other guys above him, I think, are. I mean, if you look at a Malik Neighbors, that one I think is just a pure explosion, boom, of Malik Neighbors. But the other guys, yeah, I mean, I think it's attributed to quarterback
think I need to
play. I
move
mean,
down
I
a
look at a
spot,
guy
but-
like. I have Terry McLaurin one spot above him, and I know I'm the highest on Terry McLaurin, but I think, I mean, you look at Jaden Daniels in the way. Listen, is Jaden Daniels going to be the greatest rookie quarterback ever? I don't think so,
yeah.
but I mentioned it last time, probably I think in the podcast that we have in the Shadow Realm, but Jaden Daniels is 2 calling cards out of LSU were his rushing ability and upside and his ability to throw the deep ball. And you look at a guy like Terry McLaurin, his biggest strength is being a guy who goes out and gets the deep ball. So I think his strengths with Jaden Daniels, I think I like that situation more than an Amari Cooper who's paired with a Deshaun.
Yeah,
And maybe
I
it's
mean, you
just-
already know the numbers from when Cooper and Watson were together.
I don't doubt that. Listen, if Amari Cooper finishes top 15, wherever you want to put him, like I'm not surprised at all. But just the guys that I have above him, I can't do it.
Yeah, it's
When
just
did, what's his face? Got in?
What?
Flacco.
Flacco, yeah. When did he start playing?
So I'll just, instead of doing that, because I mean he went crazy with Flacco, but I think Flacco came in like week 13
I
or
don't
week
know.
12, but Amari was on pace for like 110 receptions and 1,500 yards with Deshaun Watson. Like,
Yeah.
I was looking at it. I was statting it out. I was thinking about it. I know that's not going to hold for an entire season, most likely. Apparently, Watson looks healthy, looks good, but that's coming out everywhere. About
I
every
don't care
can't
until I see it.
trust
Yeah.
I can't. I mean, I don't trust Deshaun Watson as far as I could throw Deshaun Watson.
Like, maybe I'm crazy for it, but I think, Amari Cooper's been doing it longer, I guess. But if you look like talent for talent, like I'm going to keep referencing him because I have him one spot above, but I don't think Terry McLaurin and Amari Cooper are that far off. If you want to give the edge to Cooper, that's completely fine. But in terms of the quarterback play, I mean, am I crazy for trusting Jaden Daniels' abilities with Terry more than Deshaun's?
No, I don't think so at all. I mean,
with Amari Cooper,
like I said, it comes down to, and Chris said it too, the guys we have above him. Are you taking Amari Cooper over Michael Pittman or Malik Neighbors or Cooper Kupp or Devontae Smith?
I'm taking Amari over Michael Pittman. Depending on team construction, I would pass on Malik Neighbors and more comfortably take an Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
There's a world where, on a specific team, I'd rather have Cooper than, again, a lot.
Right.
Keep saying it, like, a lot of this stuff is based on how you want to build your team. But
if you have guys
in a vacuum, I'm like, I think Neighbors finishes with a better season than Amari Cooper, for sure.
Probably, yes. But like, I think if you have guys in tiers, it really does boil down to just how does my team look at that point.
And also like ADP,
too,
like
yeah,
in
for
terms
sure.
of like Neighbors versus Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper goes as
a full round later?
he goes as the wide receiver 29.
Right.
Neighbors goes as the wide receiver 20.
I'm 100% taking Amari at his ADP.
You have
over
Pickens,
Malik.
Dell, and Zay Flowers over Amari Cooper.
Yeah,
in
no,
ADP.
that's not. In my personal opinion, that's just wrong.
I would agree too. Yeah.
But I mean, I totally understand if you guys want to put him in high end wide receiver 3.
Would you take Amari Cooper or Michael Pittman?
I don't know. I think I'd go Pittman.
I think I'd go Pittman too.
I'm taking Amari 100 times.
JC, how do you feel about that? Both are kind of ugly names. I don't know if you feel that. I know Trunks loves Mike Pittman, but
well, it's because he has him on Dynasty.
yeah.
I was thinking, Pittman had a good year because AR went down pretty early. Even then, he had. I think AR is going to bring a big rushing upside this year, and also having Jonathan Taylor. I think the Colts are going to transition to a big. Like, they're definitely going to have more rushing this year than I feel like last year. And for me, it's just.
But does that open up the door for a guy like Michael Pittman to maybe finally score some touchdowns? Maybe getting down there in the red zone a little bit more. Obviously, I agree they're gonna be run first when they get down there. But I mean, this is a guy who only scored 4 touchdowns last year.
It was a wide receiver 13.
And I know he doesn't. It's been kind of his career thing to not score touchdowns.
Yeah, it has.
But what if he does?
I'm gonna go off history though. The guy doesn't score touchdowns.
Yeah, but history tells me Deshaun Watson isn't going to be good this year.
History also says that Anthony
back.
Richardson is not going to play a full season. And I say it all the time when we talk about Pittman. If you get Flacco in there, you get Amari Cooper last season.
No, they're different players. They're very different players in that regard. Because Amari averaged 17 yards per catch last.
No, Amari was on crack.
So
but you can just get a hyper targeted Michael Pittman.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm just saying you don't have the.
Pittman's never going to have that big play ability, that big play ceiling. I agree with that, but in terms of a floor,
I don't know. This guy was the wide receiver 13 with Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In terms of a floor, I think Michael Pittman has the floor advantage over Amari.
You also have, does David Njoku get more involved this season? And then they did trade for Jerry Jeudy. Like, that's not, I know he's Jerry Jeudy, but that's not
nothing, I guess.
That's not nothing.
Yeah, no, like the metrics of Amari Cooper's target share with Deshaun Watson, like they definitely matter, and they're definitely something that you should keep in mind when you're drafting. But do I think it's going to be to that level? I don't think so.
There's less target competition for Michael Pittman, for sure.
That was my point.
For sure. I would agree with that.
So I would put him in that tier behind Pittman, personally.
All right. I mean, if that's where you guys are
But
at.
I mean, based on ADP, I mean, again, Michael Pittman's going as the wide receiver 20 on Sleeper. Amari Cooper's going as the wide receiver 28. So, like,
I'm taking
if
Amari.
I want to dress another position and wait on Amari Cooper to come back around later, like that's not the worst strategy, obviously, but in a vacuum, yeah, I think Michael Pittman. I think he's ranked higher for a reason, consensusly. So we'll put him there. All right. Next up, this one should be easy. I'm sorry that we're not going to talk about you, but we got Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Sun God goes into
Yes.
Amon-Ra could be the wide receiver one
Yes.
overall.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Behind CD.
Yes.
And that's it.
Yeah, I would say out of all the number ones, he's probably the least likely, but he's definitely could make it.
I agree with that.
He's the safest first round pick in fantasy football.
Yes, I completely agree with that statement.
All right, so next up,
He is.
I'm not going to lie. Sun God, we'll talk about him another time.
Yeah,
Let's keep
for
it pushing.
sure.
We don't have to debate that.
We got like
that
fucking 30
statement.
names
Yeah.
left.
Debo Samuel. Tom, how do you feel about Debo Samuel?
So I have Debo because I sent my rankings before and I said I have to move Debo up. I'm at 22 right now, but
So do I.
I don't know. I was just
You heard the
watching.
fantasy footballers on their mock draft today talking about how they have him like 9 and 10.
I didn't,
so
but
wide,
no, I
bro.
didn't. But I heard that when they were ranking their wide receivers, I thought that was fucking crazy. And then I was watching the clips from that Eagles game last year, and like he really is one of the best at what he does. I mean, he's just such a good player. Not factoring in the Ayuk trade because, like you guys said before about Pickens, he's still on the Niners, but like I don't know, Debo or.
I've never drafted Debo in fantasy
I
football.
only drafted Debo the year he broke out. It was one time I drafted
Drafted
him.
him in Dynasty.
But and
I
then
never
you
drafted him, and I think that's kind of why I'm a little bit lower on him. He's just a guy who I just rather have other players than him. I don't know.
which other players though? Because like his ADP is 33. You're taking him over Diggs.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
100,000.
Absolutely.
So he's a wide
Diggs ahead of him,
receiver.
that's why I say.
He's a wide receiver.
I want to say like 16.
17.
There you go.
So Diggs goes above him. I'd take him
No
over
brainer,
Diggs. Waddle goes after
I'm
him.
taking Waddle over Debo.
DJ Moore goes after him. I'd
Nope.
take DJ Moore.
No,
I
I'd
think.
take
Nope.
Debo.
Taking Debo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Debo actually has a chance to finish top 10.
I think DJ Moore has a.
No.
Whoa.
All right, so we'll go. I mean, let's talk about the guys that we have on the tier list. I guess we'll go to that high wide receiver 2 tier. So
That's where I'm
Chris,
at. Yeah.
Chris Olave.
No.
Yeah, I'll take Olave.
Debo over. No.
You taking Debo?
What?
Yeah.
Until
I'm
Ayuk
not
gets
gonna lie.
traded, no.
Yeah, I'm low-key factoring in this trade because I think it's going to happen. But
Operate as if Ayuk's on the
yeah,
board.
as of now, he's on the team.
If Ayuk's not
We're
here,
gonna
I'm-
have, for you guys listening, like this is going out either tonight, Thursday, or Friday night. But
Ayuk could get traded while we're making
yeah,
this.
when
but-
Ayuk gets traded, you guys will have an instant reaction from us and all the fantasy ramifications.
Right.
So for now, we are going to operate as if Ayuk is on the 49ers, and when something changes, you'll know about it. So
okay, so I'll take Olave then.
okay.
No.
So how about Malik Neighbors or Debo?
Debo.
Debo.
So he's in that wide receiver 2
probably
tier.
take Neighbors over him. But
I think I'd take Debo.
Nah,
I'm
yeah,
not
I'd
gonna
take
lie.
Debo.
really?
I'm starting to.
Still have
But they're in the
rushing
same
upside.
tier for me.
So you
close.
think Debo's in the low end wide receiver 2 tier or the high end wide receiver 2 tier?
I think he's in the low end wide receiver too, in my personal opinion. I
Yeah,
don't.
no, I put him with Olave and Waddle and those guys. I just think the upside is
I'm
like
gonna be
legit.
honest, this whole Waddle thing on that kind of crazy to me. I'm not gonna lie.
He can't get away from this.
No, I don't like Waddle there at all.
But why?
Well, you're outvoted.
yeah, you're outvoted.
Sucks to
No,
suck.
that's fine, I'm just saying. But I'd probably take Debo over Waddle.
I could see.
I don't
the
think it's
vision.
crazy. I don't think it's crazy.
I see the vision. But I'm just not
looking
there.
at Waddle's last year's number. He didn't even crack 200 PPR points.
Brother,
didn't
he got
play,
hurt.
and he was hurt.
Yeah,
all
he got
year.
hurt.
He dealt with injuries.
He
for the
missed-
he
entire
was a top
season.
10 receiver
He
before
missed 3 games, and in a lot of those games, he was hurt, and also like he kind of just got phased out of the offense
Yeah.
because he was hurt.
Yes.
so.
that. Debo missed 2 games, finished the wide receiver 15, and has finished the wide receiver 3 before. So like the ceiling.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
we
the
have
upside's
to put
there,
him in
man.
that high wide receiver 2 tier for the ceiling. So you're taking Olave over Debo
Yes.
though?
Yes.
So we'll shove him in there. All right, next name up, we have DJ Moore, who I currently have as my wide receiver 18.
She is my wide.
I'm at
receiver,
25.
26.
Yeah, I'm at 25.
I think, listen, Keenan
Talent's
Allen.
undeniable, but yeah.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Keenan Allen being there, like,
doesn't move.
In theory, you would say, oh, that's going to hurt DJ Moore. I think they're just two different receivers. I mean, we even saw it in the preseason, like in 2 receiver sets, it was DJ Moore and it was Keenan Allen. In the few 1 wide receiver sets, when it was, 2 tight ends and a running back or whatever the case may be, it was just DJ Moore out there when it was only 1 wide receiver. Like, I think DJ Moore is the clear alpha number 1 on this team, and we saw it last year. We've been saying it 4 years. When he has the quarterback play, I mean, this guy could boom. I mean, you saw it in that week 4 game against the Commanders this year. I mean, this guy, his boom potential is just, he might have the most boomage of anyone in fantasy football. I mean, we talked about it with Mike Evans. Like, this is a guy who could explode for 50-point games, and just given where he's going, if I'm taking him to be my wide receiver 3 or I'm taking him to be my wide receiver 2 when I have a dominant wide receiver 1 and running back 1 already, like, I'm looking for that upside. And I mean, this guy's upside, again, it's kind of similar to Mike Evans. I don't think on a week-to-week average he'll be a wide receiver 1, but I think cumulative points, I mean, would anyone be shocked if DJ Moore finishes with the 12th most fantasy points of any wide receiver this year? I don't think so at all. I don't think so at all.
Range of outcomes is so wide.
The thing that worries me with DJ Moore is just the fact that rookie quarterbacks don't throw a lot of touchdowns, and I've said that
and it's
every time
hard to
come
support
up.
2 wide receivers,
right?
when you're a rookie quarterback. And like, apparently in camp, Keenan has been the guy. I believe that? No.
I've heard multiple reports. Like, it's
either way.
I've heard Roma Dunze has been the best receiver from some people. So like,
but you don't see that on the field because he hasn't been that guy in 2 wide receiver sets and stuff. So
I just think the talent's undeniable. I think he's the most talented guy on the team. I think he has the most boom potential. He could stretch the field more than a Keenan Allen. Which
I agree with everything you're saying.
Offers more upside. Yeah, he has a wide range of outcomes, but based on what I saw last year and given the fact that I think he has a quarterback upgrade, he has overall his situations upgraded, I don't see why he can't finish near where he finished last year. And I think, honestly, I mean, I'm right about what ADP says with him. I have him as wide receiver 18. Sleeper has him as wide receiver 18. So he's actually the only guy out of all my receivers that I have the same ranking as ADP. So
I'm for him being in the low end wide receiver 2 personally.
That's where I have him. I have him one spot below Michael Pittman on my ranking. So, but again, these are 2 guys who offer. Yeah, I'm gonna keep saying completely different things to a fantasy team. In some cases, I'd take DJ Moore over him. In some cases, I'd take DJ Moore over everyone in this tier. But based on this list, I'd probably put him above Michael Pittman. I'd probably sandwich him in between Cooper Kupp and Michael Pittman on this list.
That's good with me.
I think that's a really good spot.
I'm way higher on Amari than everybody else, but yes, I'm perfectly okay with that for this list.
Yeah, I think that looks good. He looks sexy right there. So the next game up this is going to be a controversial one too. It's T. Higgins.
I think he's in that same tier.
I'd throw him at the end of that tier.
I would. Yeah, end of the tier or ahead of George Pickens, honestly.
I would think throw him at the end of that tier too.
I think for me, like, drafting him, or again, it's about position in the draft, because T. Higgins is quite a bit further than. Well, now actually he's right behind Amari Cooper. So if I'm drafting T. Higgins or Amari Cooper, it's about construction to me. If I'm taking the upside shot, I'm taking Higgins. I would not be surprised if he finishes top 15.
Does T. Higgins have more upside than Amari Cooper?
No. No, absolutely not. Nope.
It does.
I don't
think so.
I don't think so. I do not think so at all, actually. I think Amari still
Cooper's
has top 10
upside. Amari Cooper's upside is like 140 targets and double-digit tugs.
I don't know about double-digit.
I don't know about that.
1,300 yards and like 7, 8 touchdowns.
Never had double-digit.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Never had double-digit touchdowns. But 7 to 8 with 1,300 yards and like 90 to 100 catches, I think this is upside. I can't see
T. Higgins as my wide receiver 31. He's the 28 on Sleeper. I just think with T. Higgins, I mean, you mentioned it with Devontae Adams. You talk about a guy with spike weeks. I mean, T. Higgins is a guy who could genuinely give you nothing on
Yes.
some weeks. I think he's one of, especially at just the wide receiver positions, he's one of, if not the most touchdown dependent player I think there is.
Yeah.
I think he's a guy who he's just never going to see super high volume in targets given the situation and given who's on his team. And I just think, listen, if he scores touchdowns, then great. But me personally, I don't like betting on guys who most of their fantasy points are only going to come on touchdowns. I mean, I have Deontay Johnson over him. I have Rashee Rice over him. I have Tank Dell over him.
Deontay over T.
I have Rice, but I don't have Deontay.
I have Rice over him as well. Deontay, really?
I have Deontay Johnson one spot above him.
Wow. I mean, look, I'm not high on T, but I have him at like 26.
I also have him at 26.
So DJ and T are back to back for me, actually.
Like
Yeah,
me
me too.
personally, like T Higgins he's in the flex tier with George
Yeah,
Pickens for
I
me.
think
He's a
at
guy
I
who
think so.
He's a guy who, I mean,
I don't
the
agree
way we're doing this, like this other tier is low end wide receiver 2, high end 3. I'm not happy leaving a draft with T Higgins as my wide receiver 2. I'm not happy.
I'm also not happy with George Pickens as my wide receiver.
That's why he's in the flex tier.
But, yeah, all right, then that's fair. I don't think I'd confident.
Okay.
Like Amari
In him
Cooper
being
as
on
my,
that-
yeah, Amari
I'm
Cooper as
super
my
happy
wide
if
receiver
Amari's my
2,
wide
I'm
receiver 2.
pretty content with. Michael Pittman, maybe not as content with, but I'm content with it. DJ Moore, I'm content with it.
No, that's fine.
Cooper
Yeah.
Kupp, I'm okay with it. T Higgins, I'll put him above George Pickens. Yeah, that's fine.
I
but
think his upside is no higher than like
the tier above this, I
16.
think. Yeah, I don't think he's a guy who could be a top 12 guy.
No,
Well,
I don't think
he
top
could have a
12.
I think he could have a great season. I think he could have
he's
10,
a guy who
11
could-
touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, but I also think he's a guy who could fall completely out of the
not
wide
even that. I
receiver
mean-
3 category.
No, I think
when
he's
when
clear-cut
Burrow was
the number
healthy,
two.
he had 110 targets. Actually, his first 3 seasons, he had 108, 110, 110.
Right, I talked about it before. Nico Collins and Brandon Ayuk, that's about what they got last year, and they were elite in fantasy, but
Right.
they were some of the most efficient players in not even just last year, like fantasy football history.
Yeah.
That's how good they were and efficient they were last year. T. Higgins, we haven't seen that level of consistency with him
Yeah, I mean,
thus
I'm
far
not-
in his career.
fine.
I'm not confident
it's fine.
enough to put him above that. I would agree.
Yeah, we can keep that.
thinking about it, I would agree.
We can keep him there.
All right, so the next guy is Tank Dell, who I also think is in this tier of player.
I would
don't
agree.
No.
Nope.
Really?
Completely
think he's a low
disagree.
end
You're
tier.
happy with Tank Dell as your
Wide
2?
receiver 2, yeah.
If he's healthy, absolutely am. Yes. 100%.
Would you take him over Amari Cooper?
Depending, no.
Okay.
No, I'm not taking him over Amari. I'm super high on Amari. I would,
Yeah, I
depending
mean,
on
Tank Dell
team
scored 7
structure-
touchdowns in 11 games. It's
Depending
kinda
on team
fucking crazy.
structure, I'd take him over Pittman. Most
Yeah.
certainly, I'd take him over Pittman,
100%.
depending on team structure.
I'll throw him at the end of this tier. I'm okay with that.
We
Yeah.
forget just how ridiculous he was in 11 games.
Yeah.
No, he
Like,
was
as a
absolutely
rookie,
ridiculous.
As a rookie. So,
I just think if anyone's going to take a hit from Diggs being there, I think it's Tank Dell.
No.
I think
don't
it's both. I really do
I
think,
think
it's
it's-
both. Because Tank,
I
hate
just
to
think
say
Diggs
it.
is a guy who could operate out of the slot the way kind of Tank Dell does. So I think, like,
Tank's
Nico's,
not a slot guy.
I mean, he
Tank's an outside receiver
he
through and
played
through.
some in the slot last year. Do we?
He can play in the slot.
I can tell you
Yeah,
right now.
yeah.
Hold up. He was an outside guy in college. He was an outside guy in the NFL. It looks, you would think, based
No,
off
he
his
is an outside
size,
guy. Yeah, no.
that he is a slot guy. But Tank Dell played like 85% of his snaps outside. He is a burner, and he's way more physical than you think he is. One of the best guys at contested catches in the league, too. Tank is like,
Bro, we're talking about a 165-pound receiver.
but that's what I'm saying. It doesn't make sense.
Yo.
Tank doesn't make sense, but he makes it happen every time.
Yeah.
It's just it doesn't make any sense, but it happens. That's why
don't
I'm
know.
so. That's why I'm so.
Played 70% of his snaps out wide and
Okay.
30% in the slot.
85% out wide now is what it'll probably go up to with Stephon Diggs. I mean, he was an outside receiver in college too. He's an outside guy, and it doesn't look like it. 160 pounds.
My only worry is
Yeah,
Diggs.
I'll just-
Diggs is gonna have weeks where he gets 8 to 10 targets, and then who suffers from that?
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tank and CJ showed a connection more than Tank and Nico did. I mean, more than CJ and Nico did at first. It's just the truth.
I guess, but now Nico has that connection because he played with him more. I think.
And he's like Nico is the X guy. Like in every 2 wide receiver set, Nico is going to be on the field. Diggs and Dell are the guys who are going to be like rotating in 2 wide receiver sets. I also expect this team to be super heavy in terms of 3 wide receiver sets. Obviously, that's the strength of their team.
The thing about Tank Dell is he could get 2 bomb touchdowns and have an absolute monster week, no doubt about it. Like
he's a stud.
That's why I think he's more of a flex, though.
Yeah, I was just saying that I think if anyone's going to hurt from Stephon Diggs being there, it's Tank Dell. But I'm an idiot, I guess.
I never said that.
I think
Never
they're both
once
going to
said
hurt.
that.
I just don't think with Diggs there, I don't know. I don't think Tank Dell can finish better than. I wouldn't put him over a DJ Moore or a Pittman.
Yeah. All right. Next up is Zay Flower. I'd put Zay Flower in the flex tier.
He's 100% in the flex tier.
I'd put him
I'm not even
behind
gonna
both of
dive
those
into it.
guys.
I'd
Yeah.
take George Pickens over Zay
Both
Flower.
of those guys over
Cool.
Zay, yes.
Speak of the devil.
Wow.
Stephon Diggs.
Trash.
Trash.
He's in the wide
After Zay
receiver.
Flowers.
I don't know about that. I think I
Flex
take him over
pushing it.
Zay.
Flex is pushing it.
No, he's in flex.
No.
He's in flex. Diggs is in flex.
I'd take Pickens over Diggs.
I would take Pickens.
I
over
would take
Diggs for
Pickens
sure.
over Diggs. Yeah.
There you go, Stephon
Would I
Diggs.
take Flowers or Diggs?
I feel like Flowers didn't do that. I had Flowers.
I'd take
finished
Diggs.
Flowers
I'd take
last
Diggs over
year.
Flowers.
I don't think he was a bad receiver.
He was solid. He was good. His
I mean,
receiving.
who else is on that offense?
His
besides
receiving
Mark
tree
Andrews.
is
Yeah,
so
but
well
his
placed.
numbers when Mark Andrews is there though are like.
But I think it'll be a little different this year.
No,
going
yeah,
into year
they'll
two.
scheme him in more
Honestly,
for sure.
I would
but
put Zay over Diggs, even though I have Diggs above Zay in this
I think the problem with
I'm Diggs over
team
Zay
structure. That's
personally.
it.
Yeah, not even.
I'm
Like the
Diggs over Zay too.
Okay, that's
Nah, I
fine.
like Zay over Diggs.
All right, Zay over Diggs.
All
I
right.
think the whole thing with Diggs is just how much is he going to contribute to the offense. I think that's a big question mark.
That is a good question.
Yeah,
But I'm saying like,
Do you know the answer?
nah.
We still don't have anyone in the
I'm saying,
second tier, by the way, which is kind of crazy.
I'm saying
yeah. There's a few. There's not too many.
Yeah, there's not too many. Yeah,
we
yeah.
also got to realize
Agreed.
like, whoever doesn't finish as number 1 is considered in that tier.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
So
Next up is Jaden Reed. I don't think he'll be in that top 12 tier,
Flex.
but
I think he's in flex, but I'd go so far as I'd put him above Diggs and Zay.
Whoa.
Yeah.
whoa.
What
Joe
up?
Cruz says.
I don't know
What?
Zay.
Jaden Reed is a dog.
Yeah, but there's,
He got hurt. There's a lot of mouths to feed there.
yeah, there's a lot of mouths to feed. And I don't think Jordan Love has found his guy yet.
No, but Jaden Reed emerged quite a bit, and
I think he's like he's definitely like a weapon. Like he's definitely one of their.
I feel like Jaden Reed has a very safe floor because Matt LaFleur schemes him the ball.
Yeah, I'll take Jaden Reed over Zay.
I
don't know about Pickens, but
and I think Jaden is just as explosive as Zay Flowers,
yeah,
and bigger, actually.
better red zone threat too.
and a better red zone threat, and taller.
I'd agree with the red zone threat.
I think Jaden Reed is the better.
He had a lot of. I heard the footballers say, and then we can move off him. That he had some of the most like percentage of first
read
reads
targets
on
in the
the
red
red
zone?
zone. Yeah,
Yeah.
so he's gonna look for him down there for sure, and they're gonna
Matt
get down there
LaFleur
a
gets
lot.
him the ball.
Yeah, yeah,
Like it's a thing.
yeah. I'll
So,
put. Would you put him over Pickens?
No, but
Okay.
he's in that flex category. So
I guess we could go over Zay.
above Zay.
Next up is my dog for life, Mr. Terry McLaurin.
He's top 12 now.
I think
I'd
Terry
put him up-
McLaurin because I know you have a lot to say about. I think Terry McLaurin might be one of the safest picks in the draft because
From where he is.
Yeah, from where he is exactly. It's the upside that
Yeah.
we gotta discuss
I don't
there.
see his upside.
Like, does he have Amari Cooper upside?
No.
I think he does. I think this is a guy who, like, if he was ever going to do it, if he was ever going to put together a season where he could be a wide receiver 1, it would be this season.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying I'm predicting that to have him. I don't have him there. I have him as a wide receiver 23. But if there was a season for him to do that, I think he would. I think you just have to project
Where do you have Terry?
that this will be Terry McLaurin's best season of his career. I just think given the quarterback situation, I'll keep saying it, the way Jaden Daniels' skill set matches up with Terry McLaurin's skill set, and I just think this is a guy who's gotten the short end of the stick. I mean, I talked about it with Devontae Adams, but just the the catchable target ratings and metrics and all that stuff, it's just atrocious. I mean, he ranked number 76 amongst wide receivers in catchable target rate, number 9 in unrealized air yards. But this is a guy who he could push the field, number 8 overall in deep targets. And if he gets lucky on a few bomb touchdowns, I mean, this is a guy who could easily beat ADP. I mean, he's going as the wide...
Oh, he's being drafted at his floor, without a doubt.
Yeah,
I
he's being
think
drafted as the wide receiver 32.
Yes.
Come on, man. As a wide receiver 32, I don't see a world where he doesn't beat that ADP. So, and I think it's going to be the best season of his career. I just think everything is pointing that way. So,
I mean, I'm cool with him being in the low end wide receiver 2. It's just I wouldn't put him above
Anyone?
Amari.
What about Tank?
I'd
Over
take Terry
Tank.
McLaurin over Tank Dell every single time, man. Every single time.
I'm saying for where I wouldn't be crazy to say the low end wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2, man.
What?
I'm saying like the tier with Waddle, Olave, and all.
What?
Oh yeah, I think that's
You're
wild.
bugging.
I wouldn't rank him there, but I think
You're not surprised if
I
he can
think-
finish it.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a different.
yeah,
That's a different
yeah.
conversation.
I'd definitely put him above Tank Dell, though. If you want to put him behind Coop.
Oh, yeah. No,
fine.
it's
Yeah.
cool if you want to put him
Yeah,
above
that's fine.
Tank. That's okay.
I think that's a good spot for him.
That's fine.
But yeah, I mean, like Terry McLaurin, I think he could easily clear all these guys we have ranked above him, though, in that tier. Amari Cooper,
Yeah, he
Michael
could clear
Pittman,
that
DJ
easily.
Moore, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Smith, Malik Neighbors. He could easily finish the best out of that bunch. Yeah.
Yep.
100%.
I'm a little.
I think
biased.
that's
I'm not-
easly in his range of outcomes. I'm not
It's
saying
in his range
going
of
to
outcomes.
happen, but it's definitely in his range of outcomes.
Yeah, in
So
his
Yeah,
range
yeah,
of
I would
outcomes
agree.
for sure. What do you think his ceiling is?
top 12.
I
give
think
me-
he
give
could
me a
be
number,
top 12. I'll
you could.
say 12 on the nose.
Okay.
I
would say
think
around
that's a good
14,
spot.
15.
Yeah, I'm not mad at it.
No, I really do. I mean, this is a guy who he has top 10 talent. So
Yes.
if Jaden Daniels is, I mean, he doesn't even have to be like this all-world rookie. Just be better than Sam Howell. Like it's not a tough ask. Terry
But
was.
they threw so much, dude.
They're gonna keep throwing. The O-line didn't get much better. Brian Robinson's cool. Austin Eckler's cool.
Jaden's going to run, man.
They're going to be throwing the ball.
Jaden's gonna run
around.
for his life.
Yeah.
That O-line is better than people
But
think.
again, what
but
is
Jaden
Jaden Daniels'
is gonna run.
strength in terms
No,
of
the depot.
throwing?
Yeah, the depot. I agree.
I just think it lines up perfectly for Terry. Like
Like,
it's not a high bar for Terry to have the best year of his career.
No, it's
Right.
not.
It's really not a high bar. So like again, like where do we have his ceiling? That's give or take. It'll vary between us on this couch, but I think it's just in terms of like draft strategy and players to target. This is a guy who I think all of us on this couch will be pretty surprised if he doesn't beat ADP.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, 1,200 yards and 6 touchdowns would be the best season of Terry McLaurin's career,
Yeah.
and I could
I'd be
definitely see him getting
shocked
there.
if he doesn't get that this year.
I think that's
I'd
definitely.
be shocked.
Yeah, it's within his range of outcomes. Yeah, I agree. But I think 1,250 is his ceiling. 1,200, 1,250 is his ceiling.
Yeah, I think in
Because
terms
of having a
yards,
rookie
but
quarterback, yeah.
I think if it all breaks his way, he's a guy who could like just explode for 10 touchdowns.
Yeah.
He's that dynamic I mean, I talked about it with Malik Neighbors, just his ability to just be dynamic, and they're different players, but I think Terry McLaurin's the same way where he's just so dynamic that he could turn a 20-yard catch into a 50-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
Quick question: does Neighbors or Terry have a higher ceiling in fantasy this year?
I think their ceilings are pretty similar.
You don't think Neighbors could finish as a top 10?
I'd be very surprised if he finishes
Yeah,
top
I
10.
think like the max I'd give him is he could be like the lowest of low end.
You
wide
need to be
receiver
in
ones.
in a good offense or Devontae Adams to
Yeah.
be in the top 10.
Okay,
You know,
fair.
I'm not putting him there just yet.
All right, the next guy up is Deontay Johnson. Deontay's a guy who we've spoken about ad nauseum at this point, so we could kind of just find a spot for him here and move on. So I think he's a flex play. I mean, I would take him over T Higgins.
I would not take him over
No.
T Higgins.
Okay,
Not over
that's
T,
fine.
not over
I wouldn't take
Pickens.
him over Pickens either. Jaden Reed.
I think I would.
I'd take him over Jaden.
I'd go for the
Reed.
upside of
But we're
Reed.
also
I'd
just-
take
you're
Reed
banking
over
on the fact
Deontay.
of Bryce Young, really.
But I'd take Deontay over Zay.
All right, that's a good spot for him.
Yeah.
After Jaden Reed, before
I'm
Zay Flowers.
comfortable with
Yeah,
that. yes.
that's okay.
All right. AJ Brown. I think AJ Brown could be in the
Wide
receiver
top
1
12.
overall. No, I think.
No,
AJ
I think
Brown
wide
could
receiver.
be
I'm with you. I think
the
wide
number
receiver
1
one
wide
overall.
receiver in fantasy
Absolutely.
football.
I don't. I think he's in that second tier. Personally.
No, I think he can be the wide receiver 1.
I think he's a top 12 lock. I don't think he has wide receiver 1 overall upside.
I think, yeah, I'd have to agree there.
I don't think he could
I
finish
just-
any higher than wide receiver 3. I genuinely don't. So,
I just
he
think
was
the
5
pace-
last year and had 7 touchdowns.
I
Would you be
think
shocked if he got 10 to 12?
And I think that pace that he was
Yeah.
on, where he was just the guy in the offense, like I really do. I think it's sustainable. I think he's that good. I think he could be that guy.
Well,
like
that's the thing, though.
you got to keep in mind. Like I know you're gonna say, well, maybe that was part of it, and maybe they needed a change, but like the wheels fell off for the
Do you
entire.
think Garrett Wilson can finish wide receiver 1, but not AJ Brown?
absolutely. Target competition.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
AJ Brown's going to get a
See,
shit
yeah,
ton
I
of
just-
targets.
yeah,
You're
I'm not
losing me there.
disagreeing with that, but Garrett Wilson is the only legitimate wide receiver.
I understand,
on his
but
team.
even so, AJ Brown had 160 targets last season.
But that was part of the problem. That offense became so predictable. It was AJ Brown.
Right.
But
like,
even
that
if
was
AJ
it.
Brown goes down, like
Even
let's
if
say
it's
let's say he
Wow, 30?
loses, let's say he loses 20 targets, like AJ Brown's still a guy who we've seen like explode with these crazy efficiency numbers and be insane in fantasy football. So
Yeah, like 6 games, 100.
So I'm in agreement with you guys, but he had a better season the year prior in 2022 overall in points wise. He finished a little bit lower, but he had 13 fewer targets, 145, and this season he finished with 11 touchdowns. I think that 300 points mark is where he finishes this year, but that's not good enough to. And this man finished with 1,511 touchdowns that year. And that was wide receiver 6. I think that's his ceiling this year.
Yeah, I just
1,500
don't agree.
and 11 touchdowns is not his ceiling.
He didn't have 11. He had 7 touchdowns.
2 years ago, 2022, he had his best season when he and Devontae basically had split targets down the middle when they made the Super Bowl.
yeah, but I don't. The thing is, I
makes
don't.
him better.
That was,
I don't expect them to. I don't think they're gonna have split targets, and I think.
He had 15 more than Devontae that year, but
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be more similar to what we saw last year, where AJ Brown's getting 30 to 40 more targets, because I think he's that much better of a player, and I think he showed that last year, and that's kind of where
I
our.
wouldn't be surprised, but to say he's wide receiver 1 potential is kind of crazy.
I don't think
I
he
don't
could
think it's
finish as
crazy,
the wide
no.
receiver 1. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, we're just never going to reach a decision here. So,
We'll
but
put him in the.
If it's
just-
not, I think
just
if
'cause we
it's
have no
not
one, I think
consensus,
Yeah,
top
just since we have no one in that tier, we'll
Sure.
put him there.
I
But
think if it's not consensus on overall wide receiver 1, then
no, that's fine. Yeah.
but then we're not. I mean,
but
we
that,
could just
I'm
skip
talking
ahead,
about that
though,
category
but-
especially.
yeah, but if we're not putting AJ Brown in there, I don't know if I really want to put AJ Brown. I don't know if I want to put Garrett Wilson in that.
Then that's
I
okay.
agree.
Yeah,
I'm not
If
putting
you guys
Garrett
aren't
Wilson in there.
I'd put
Consensus about it,
Garrett.
that's
I
okay.
rank Garrett above
Top 12.
AJ Brown, but
Yes.
I'm not putting him in that top tier.
Okay,
Even
that's
though
fine.
I think I really do genuinely believe both of those guys could be the wide receiver 1 overall, but I think you got to keep them together. All right, so Garrett and AJ Brown are in there. Keep it pushing. We got Keenan Allen up next.
He's fat now.
He's in flex.
Gained 20 pounds.
Unfortunately, he's in flex.
Yeah, he's in flex.
You taking Stephon Diggs or Keenan Allen?
No, Keenan Allen, sorry.
Zay Flower or
Keenan.
Keenan Allen? Deontay Johnson or
Keenan.
I'm not.
I'm 100% taking Keenan.
Where do I
over
have
Deontay.
Keenan? Because
I wouldn't even.
it's ugly.
Nah, because at that rate, then Keenan Allen's going to go by the tier above.
No.
No,
I'm personally taking Deontay Johnson over Keenan. That's my cutoff.
I'd take Keenan over him.
That's
I don't
tough.
think
That's a
I'd
tough
take
one.
the upside swing on Jaden Reed over Keenan, but
I would absolutely, absolutely
I
take
would
Jaden
take
Reed.
Keenan over.
All right, so we could throw him right there. JC, are you taking Deontay or Keenan?
I think Bryce Young's. I'm a big believer in Bryce Young, so I'd take Deontay over Keenan.
Tom?
I'm gonna stick with Keenan.
All right, we'll go Keenan. All right, we'll keep it
He's
pushing.
bald as shit.
He is
He
bald
is
as
so
shit.
bald. Keenan is so bald.
Calvin Ridley, who I currently have as my wide receiver 35. I think
He's a flex.
he's
I also have him
definitely
at
a
35.
Bottom of
Right
I'd-
behind
I would
Would
Keenan.
you take him over Diggs?
Yeah.
No.
You were very weird on how you rank Diggs.
You take Ridley over Diggs?
I'd take Ridley over all that, almost the whole entire.
I would take Ridley over Diggs, certainly.
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I think I would too.
Yeah.
I think I would.
I'd probably take Ridley over Zay.
I'd probably take. Ridley
DeAndre
over all
Hopkins
those
is
guys, I'm not gonna
injured.
lie. Yeah.
DeAndre Hopkins is injured. Yeah,
I
that's a
think
good point.
Ridley's. At the
I'd
top of the list
consider
here. I'm not
Ridley over Deontay.
No.
I wouldn't take Ridley over
Ooh,
Deontay.
it's a better offense too.
I think it's Ridley over Deontay.
I'm
yeah.
taking Ridley over
I'm taking
Deontay.
Ridley over Keenan.
I might be with you on that.
I'm taking him over Jaden Reed too.
No.
I think it stops.
No,
at Jaden
definitely not
Reed.
Jaden Reed for me.
I don't know. I just don't think Jaden. I know.
I think
there's so
I
many
think I
mouths
take
on that Packers off. I don't think Jaden Reed ends up as the one.
Godwin is going to be an interesting one.
Next up is Chris Godwin.
I feel like Godwin, Deontay, and Keenan are like like the same. No, like the same archetype of player. Like
I
you're
don't know
just
what it
hoping they
is.
get. You're just hoping they get a bunch of targets and get a bunch of catches. You know.
I'm disgusted by Godwin in fantasy football. I don't know
I feel
what
like
it is.
He's just your guy that gets you to 14.
He's cool.
14 to 15.
He's
points.
cool. Yeah,
I'd rather have Deontay.
I'd rather have Deontay.
I'd rather have Deontay
Yeah.
as well.
I
I'd
think
rather
I'd
have
rather have
Zay.
Zay Flowers.
I'd
yeah.
rather.
Yeah.
I'd probably rather have Diggs.
Yeah, we could put him at the end of the list. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
The same thing with like the Bucks just don't move me.
Where did we put Ridley? Who'd we put him ahead of?
Ridley's above Keenan,
Right
Okay.
before Jaden Reed.
right after
right,
Jaden Reed.
right after you.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, next up is Christian Kirk.
I think he's the same mold too.
I think
Yeah.
he's above Diggs,
You just yeah.
And I think he's
yeah.
above Zay.
Ooh.
I think it depends on how much you believe in
He and
Jacksonville.
Deontay are very similar.
I'm
my
cool
personal
slotting
opinion.
him
If
with
you think
that.
Jacksonville's going to be good, I don't think they're good without him being good.
I agree with that. I think Kirk's ceiling is like wide receiver 20, but I think his floor is like wide receiver 32 to 34. Like, I don't think he
Yeah.
finishes any lower.
I'm-
If he's healthy, he's
I'm
good.
comfortable with him as a flex,
Yes, me too.
but
I'm-
We're
just
putting him
comfortable.
above Deontay.
I probably feel better about it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
The thing with Christian Kirk is just his usage in the offense. I don't know what that's going to look like going into this year. Obviously, they were better with him last year, but he missed a lot of time at the end of the year last year. You added Brian Thomas, you added Gabe Davis. I mean, those are the two guys for two wide receiver sets right as things stand right now. Christian Kirk isn't on the field for two wide receiver sets, so it's just I expect them to be in a lot of 11 personnel and get Christian Kirk on the field because he's that talented, but I don't know how I feel about a guy who's literally, I mean, like even like a Chris Godwin, you think of a Chris Godwin like a slot guy, but like in two wide receiver sets, Chris Godwin will be on the field.
Yeah.
Christian Kirk,
Yeah.
the way things are looking right now, it doesn't look like that. So I'm kind of a little bit washy about drafting him. Like, again, you guys know when I'm super high on Deontay Johnson. I would probably rather have Deontay Johnson over Christian Kirk. I think Kirk has a higher ceiling, but I think I feel safer about Deontay Johnson's floor.
Kirk is
So-
going over Terry McLaurin,
Yeah, that's
Rasheed Rice, and
that's
Jaden Reed right
wild to me. But I look at Christian Kirk because every time he is healthy, Lawrence targets him. It is always when he's on the field, he is productive. Even if he plays 70% of snaps, gets taken off for those two wide receiver sets, he's productive. Like
Yeah.
Kirk is one of those guys that it's like he's never gonna wow you with a big game, but he's gonna get you 12 points, and you're gonna feel good about it in that second flex spot where it's like, all right, I could plug him in, and I'm getting 10 to 15 every week.
Yeah.
So
All right. Next up, Christian Watson. JC, how do you feel about Christian Watson?
He's also not my alpha on that. I would put him.
upside
I
shot.
think he's an upside shot.
now. Definitely an upside,
Upside
shot. Yeah.
shot.
Simple.
that the
not
last
talk
year?
about
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
Christian Watson. Two guys in a row. Actually, we'll do a bunch of guys in a row that I think are going to be in upside shots, and we'll just kind of rank this tier right now. So next guy up is Lad McConkey.
So I would have Ladd, and I get why you want to put him in upside shot, but I'd take him over a bunch of the guys in flex as well. If I was guaranteed that Justin Herbert was healthy.
That's what I was going to ask. What is the deal on
We
Herbert?
don't know how that offense is going to look like this year.
That's fair.
Herbert's
Yeah.
out of a walking boot.
But I
For
practice.
example, I'm taking Ladd over Jaden Reed,
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. But it's just-
personally.
Yeah, I don't agree.
Or maybe Jaden Reed above Ladd, but that's where it's like
I think Jaden Reed's kind of the cutoff, but I think all these other guys you can make the
case
like
for,
Calvin Ridley on, you can make the case for, and again, it depends on your team. Like if I if I want a safer bet, like there's worlds where I'd rather have Chris Godwin on my team. I'm not gonna lie.
I think Glad is safe. Weirdly enough,
Safe for the 10 to 12 points.
he's safe for a rookie, but he's also a rookie, which
Right.
factors into his safeness.
That's fair.
Right.
Like he's at the end of the day, you are drafting Lad McConkey as an upside shot, even though he has probably a safer floor than most rookies. You're drafting him as an.
he
upside
does have
shot.
ridiculous upside. I
Yeah.
think personally.
Yeah.
Next guy up, Jackson Smith.
I'd have him as an upside shot.
I love his
Fortunately, below Watson.
I would put him ahead of Christian Watson.
I would
as
too.
things stand
Just
right now.
because of health.
I think Tyler Lockett's old. I think
Watson has a shot at being the one in that offense. I can't say the same about JSN.
Watson's got to get on the field.
I know that, but I'm just at that point I'm taking the shot on.
Right.
I think
yeah, that's
JSN
fair.
has a chance to maybe he obviously won't be the one in front of DK Metcalf, but I think
the next AJ
I think
Brown
I
pick.
think JSN has a chance to get a lot of targets
I
this
could agree with
year.
that.
And
Yeah, Jason's a
Christian
good player.
Watson, it's very big play reliant, and obviously the injury history. I mean, the talk of the town is Romeo Dubes out of camp. Jaden Reed, like he was so good last year, he has to be on the field.
Wicks.
Yeah.
Everyone
showed out.
loves Dontavion Wicks. It's just like if anyone's
see
gonna
Watson
be the
fading
odd man
out,
out, I
yeah.
could see Christian Watson fading out. Obviously, he could also, like you mentioned, be the wide receiver 1 overall. That's why he's in this tier of upside shots. He definitely has upside, but I think JSN in this tier, I think he has a little bit of a safer floor.
He
going
does.
into
No,
the
he
Yeah, yeah,
season,
100,000%.
Yeah,
has a safer
it's also
I-
like common knowledge how criminally misused he was
Yeah,
last
I agree.
season.
Oh
so-
my god.
Yeah.
But when I talk about upside shots, it's an upside shot for a reason.
Yeah.
I'm going for the highest possible outcome that I can go for. So,
Yeah.
but I'm perfectly okay with JSN being.
Yeah, I think they have similar upside though. I think JSN being the number 2 in this offense could be similarly valuable to Christian Watson being the quote 1 in Green Bay. But it's really like Christian Watson being the 1 in Green Bay is really like a 1A, 1B, 1C thing. Like I don't think anyone in Green Bay is gonna establish themselves as a true 1. Someone's gonna have more targets than everyone else, but I don't know if anyone's gonna be a true 1. They're all so different.
So let me just ask you this: would you rather have say for example, 21% or 20% target share in Green Bay, or a 23% target share in Seattle?
Probably the 20% target share in Green Bay, but I think it could be separated. JSN could get a lot of targets this
Okay.
year.
Yeah,
so
that's
it
fair.
could be. I'd project JSN to probably have closer to like a 25-26%.
That's elite
share.
wide receiver
I
territory.
think he's
Is it accurate?
that
Yeah.
good.
Like elite wide
I
receiver
think
territory.
he could, like, his upside is breaking out onto the scene to be what he was drafted to be. And I mean, he was a guy who demanded a shit ton of targets.
Oh, my
like,
God.
That
Yeah.
was kind of his calling
sophomore
card.
year in
So
Ohio State is one of the
Yeah,
greatest
so, I
college
mean,
seasons ever.
that's his calling card. So if he's going to break out, that's probably the ceiling. And I think given that it's going to be a Ryan Grubb offense, they should be near the top of the league in just overall passing volume.
Yeah.
I think like DK could still completely eat and be who we think he's going to be with JSN, like having a true breakout. So yeah, I think their ceilings might be pretty similar. So yeah, all right, we'll stay in this tier. We'll do.
Deion Coleman.
Yeah, we'll do a few guys in this tier. I guess I'll kind of just bang out the guys I think will be in this tier. We'll go Brian Thomas next. And Brian Thomas is a guy who I love. I think he has standalone value as things right now as a flex play just because of his touchdown upside. I think he could break any play off for a touchdown, but if he cements himself as, like we were just mentioning, a true alpha number 1 in terms of the targets, he's never going to get that like 150, 140 type of targets.
I'm
But
glad you said that.
if he's a guy who could finish with 115 to 120 targets this year, I mean, this is a guy who will be not just like an upside flex play. He'll be a guy who's a very reliable flex play in fantasy football this year. So I think the sky's the limit for Brian Thomas. I'd personally rank him after JSN, but above Christian Watson.
That's fine.
I'd put him after Watson.
I would
Jason.
agree with him.
After Watson?
I love Brian Thomas's future outlook.
Yeah,
He's such a raw
Yeah, I was gonna say I
prospect.
worry he's a little raw for year 1.
I think he could be one of those guys that like the last 5 weeks of the season could
Sure.
potentially win you a
Yeah,
title.
I think he's a guy who
Sure.
could just by being like he's going to be on the field off
Yes.
the rip. the volume probably isn't going to be there off the rip.
What do they ask him to do?
He's going to stretch the field.
I know.
But he's a guy who's so elite at being a field stretcher that he could score a bunch of touchdowns just off of, hey, we're using you to run straight to open up Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram, but you're so open, I'm going to throw to you anyway.
And Gabe Davis is doing cardio.
And like Gabe Davis is a field stretcher, but he just doesn't have the elite upside of Brian Thomas. Like Brian Thomas could score touchdowns just by being a decoy, which in turn would, like you mentioned, down the stretch of the year, this is a guy who could really be a league winner if he puts together some consistent weeks at the end of the season. So we could put him after Christian Watson. The next guy up, another rookie, we'll go with Mr. Xavier Worthy.
It's the Kansas City Chiefs. I would put him above JSN, below Ladd.
I think that's the perfect spot for him.
Yeah, I'm not big on the archetype of a super fast, like deep threat. You know, I think he'll be great for the Chiefs.
I think
in football, I don't know that he'll be great for fantasy year one.
I personally loved Xavier Worthy, the prospect, as an all-around receiver. That's just me. But I don't know if it works out year one.
That's my point.
I think he's more complete than your typical small speedster.
That's fair.
And my biggest selling point on him is just if anyone's gonna make it work with an unorthodox speedster like that, it's Rick Mahomes.
Right, but we've seen Mahomes and like we've praised Sky Moore. We've
but
put
like
Justin. I know Worthy isn't those guys. I understand that.
Real ball knowers know that Sky Moore was never ever.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying,
the guy got drafted as a wide receiver and said, you know what, I'm gonna pick the number 24.
That adds up.
Worthy is also just in a different.
Worthy's wearing number 1. He was number
No, I completely agree. He's a much better prospect. I'm just saying, like, we've propped up Mahomes receivers just because they're Mahomes receivers before. I don't know. I'm pumping the brakes on the rookie a little bit.
That's
fair. That's just me.
But you would have him above all those other guys though, except for Ladd. Or no,
not JSN. Yeah, I'd take JSN.
Yeah, that's fair.
Who would you take, Dave or JSN?
I think JSN really does have a higher floor, like
I agree.
a significantly higher floor.
I don't disagree, but
Xavier
Worthy has that ceiling.
Upside, man. Like
if considering what tier we're in, upside shot, I think I take Worthy overall.
Yes.
Those guys.
Not Ladd. If Herbert is healthy,
I'd take.
I'd consider
Ladd
Worthy.
just has the highest common out of these guys. He's the highest combination of ceiling and floor.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm cool with putting him behind Ladd, though. I'm not going to disagree with that.
All right, we'll put him there for now.
Yeah.
All right, are there any more?
Keon.
Yeah, we'll do Keon Coleman next. I personally, I've moved on Keon Coleman. I'd probably.
Oh, he's getting good reviews now.
I know. I'd probably put him above Xavier Worthy.
Jinx soda.
Where things stand right now, I think that's the spot for him, right behind Ladd.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would we all take Ladd over Keon Coleman?
1,000%.
Yeah.
Maybe he's going to be a top 12 receiver, but that's another story for him.
Whoa.
No,
All right.
no, in all seriousness. Yeah.
All right. So some other guys who are kind of in the middle of the rankings. We'll get this one out of the way. I'm curious to see where you guys stand on him right now. We got Hollywood Brown.
Man, forget it. I wouldn't even have him on the list.
You don't even want to put him on
sorry,
here?
Hollywood.
We
I
could
love you, buddy.
just not put him on here. That's
we're
fine.
not putting him on the list. I'm sorry, Hollywood.
Let me just put him at the end. See you, Hollywood. All right, next up.
Oh, he would probably be a flex.
Not at all. Nope.
I think he would.
I'll never trust Hollywood Brown because A, he can't stay healthy. B, he's one of the most inconsistent receivers in the NFL. And look, speedy recovery to him, but he's also dealing with something right now that was severe.
Yeah.
Like, could have been life-altering type injury. Or not even injury, but internal stuff. So prayers to Hollywood, but I wouldn't touch him in a fantasy draft. He's off my board. I wouldn't touch him in the 15th round. Like, that's where I'm at with him.
All right, next up, a guy who he suffered an injury yesterday. He got carted off, but they're saying he's good. They're saying he should be good for week 1. They're saying it was only an ankle after being an ACL. I don't know.
Did you hear about the Tyrone Tracy thing too?
Yo.
What the hell is going on?
But
Are people Wolverine now?
I don't know.
Chris Evans is also like out for the season now.
Good.
Rookie on.
Chase
Like
Brown.
Captain America?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
All right.
good.
Jesus.
Chase Brown.
Oh,
All right.
Oh,
Jordan
man.
Addison. I don't know.
I really have no clue.
He had a
And the
crazy
current-
stretch to end last year, didn't he? Wasn't he like really good down
He
the
was
stretch last
really
year?
good,
Scored double-digit tugs.
but
I think flex position's okay, but I don't know. How
I'm
many
cool
guys
with flex. I'd probably put him
behind Deontay.
below Zay Flowers.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Probably take Diggs over Jordan Addison right now.
Nah, I disagree. I'd take Addison over Diggs.
Yeah, I'll take
don't
Diggs.
know
No, I'll
about
take
that,
Diggs.
actually.
I'll take Diggs.
I'd rather have Diggs with two other alphas and CJ Stroud. throwing
Listen,
him.
just because we hate where Diggs is being drafted doesn't mean we hate Diggs overall. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, no.
I don't know.
I just think Addison is
I don't.
good-
You think Sam Darnold's gonna play good all 16, 17 games?
I don't know. If I was drafting right now, just given the baggage with Jordan Addison, given if I was drafting right now, he just got hurt. There's
Yeah,
the
you're so
looming
right.
legal
Yep.
stuff,
Right.
and there's
100% right.
no
Yeah.
quarterback.
I'd
I
honestly
think,
put him below Chris Godwin.
yeah,
at this
I
fucking
agree.
point.
I'll put him in the flex tier, but I'd take those guys over him right now
Yeah.
today.
Great point.
Next guy we'll rank is Roma Dunze.
You know, I think he's honestly like not even in any of those spots. He's in upside.
I think he's
I
Yes.
completely agree.
behind Brian
I'm
Thomas.
cool with-
or
No, above Brian
Ahead
Thomas.
of Brian, yeah.
Above Christian Watson.
below JSN.
Shit, I'd say
Nah,
above JSN.
Nah.
Nah.
Below JSN?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's below
I'm
JSN.
there
Alright.
too. I'm there
That's
too.
fair.
All right, next guy, Curtis Samuel.
Upside.
Yeah, Curtis
Yeah,
Samuel is
upside.
like more of an upside
I'd
shot.
personally take him over Godwin. Am I weird for that? Maybe. I would take
I
him
could
over
see it. I
Godwin.
could
I
definitely
mean, we
see
could
it.
put him in the flex.
He did
tier.
have his best season under Joe Brady.
Yeah.
They're gonna need someone to get the. I'm not saying he's 130 targets.
No,
but I'm
no,
saying
no.
like he'll be used in multiple ways to where he will get the ball.
Yeah.
I think Samuel will get the ball in more advantageous situations than Chris Godwin will. But Godwin will probably. Get the
Nah,
ball.
I'd take Godwin over Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, I take Godwin.
Okay.
I'd probably take Jordan Addison over Curtis Samuel right now too.
You just don't know how that offense. is
I don't
gonna
know.
Look. That's
Yeah.
really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm cool with
You
that.
kind of know what
Yeah.
you're getting.
All right.
Back into that.
Debo and Addison.
All right, next guy we'll do is another Chief, Mr. Rasheed Rice, who it's been all over the place. his
We're gonna be
rankings
very
the
different
past
on this
few
one.
days. I think we've
Where do you
kind
have
of
Rice
all
ranked?
evened out on him.
He's my 23.
He's 24 for me, yeah.
I in this case would put him above DJ Moore.
I have him at 28. I would not take Rasheed Rice over DJ Moore.
I wouldn't either.
I would.
I just think the legal.
I wouldn't take him over Pittman too.
I
We
would
could start
definitely take
having
him
the
over Pittman.
conversation at Amari Cooper.
Really?
Yeah, for me anyway. I wouldn't take Rasheed Rice over Michael Pittman.
It's
No.
just so much more dynamic.
It's just Rasheed Rice is one of those.
Pittman's tough.
Well, the whole thing for me is the legal situation. Like
That-
Well,
So
he's
that
not. He
seems
hasn't
like
been
it's
suspended,
getting-
so let's
it's getting
assume he's not
pushed.
getting
It's getting
suspended.
pushed.
He's probably.
Yeah.
It's probably next season.
Yeah, I'm not even thinking about the legal thing. I just think there's a lot of mouths to feed in KC.
Yeah, but
Which matters.
I think Mahomes
He's
wants to
that-
feed that mouth.
Yes,
a lot.
I agree. Pause.
No, he definitely does. I mean, I have him up there. Michael Pittman was just a wide receiver 13 with 4 touchdowns.
No, I
don't
wouldn't
know.
take him over Pittman.
I'd take
I
him
think
over
in
Pittman,
between Pittman and Cooper is a fine spot for him.
Yeah,
But then in that case, I'm putting him below Amari. So it's weird because my rankings are different. But I think
you're just
it's-
high on Amari.
Okay, I'd put him below Amari too,
okay, fine.
That's cool.
Below Amari.
yeah.
above Terry McLaurin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, next up, Justin Jefferson. We're
He's
getting
in wide receiver. one.
I
into the heavy hitters right
Overall?
here.
No.
I don't.
He's
I
in
don't think
wide
so.
receiver
Yeah.
one.
Okay.
He's in clear wide receiver.
With
one.
8 in clear wide receiver 1.
We're
Yes.
talking about
Oh yeah. I'm sorry.
Top
Yeah. yeah.
12. Yeah.
Yeah. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. So
None of us think he can
my
finish number 1
rankings
overall.
are also different than you guys. I would have him below Garrett Wilson, above AJ Brown.
I think he's the top of the list still.
I have him below AJ Brown, above Garrett Wilson.
I have
But I don't hate
could
it.
get
I'm not
with-
mad
I could
either
get
way.
with Tom, but nah.
Yo,
I have him.
on the couch. On the couch.
You definitely
Like,
could
nah,
get
On the
with
couch
Tom.
is crazy.
You definitely could get with Tom.
I have him below both of them. I have him as my
I-
wide receiver 7.
I don't hate it. I'm coming around to that.
If we put him
I'm good with
below
that.
both, I'm comfortable with it.
I'm just so much more I mean, I told you,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
drafting those other guys.
Justin Jefferson though.
I don't.
It's Justin Jefferson with Sam
It's Sam
Darnold,
Darnold,
bro.
dude.
Yeah, but he was great with Nick Mullins.
Yeah.
I know, but those other guys, I also think can be the wide receiver 1 overall, and I've said it.
I mean, I'm cool.
You can't be the wide receiver 1 overall with
Sam
bad
Darnold.
quarterback
Yeah,
play. Yeah. So I
agree.
I think the other guys just have more upside.
Yeah.
Like I'm taking those other guys over him in drafts every single time. So
I guess.
do you guys want to just shove him in the middle?
Nah, behind.
No,
I'll put him behind both,
him,
yeah.
Jay. It's fine.
All right. Next up, the king, the GOAT, Mr. Maserati, Mr. Starvin Marvin. I think
So crazy enough,
It is
he's in wide. He's in top 12,
he pretty clearly goes after.
but he's at the very
Jefferson,
bottom
yeah.
of top 12.
It's fine by
He could
me.
be at the top of the other list too, low key. I wouldn't say that's crazy to say.
You think he can finish one over? Oh no, the
Going.
tier below.
Huh?
How long have we been going?
We've been recording
Bro,
for a while.
a long time.
2 hours and 5 minutes.
Good God.
I mean, thank God we're close.
We're
to
almost
the end
done,
at this
yeah,
point,
yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean Marv, there's not much to say. This is a guy who should see 140 plus targets. There's the upside of double-digit touchdowns there. There's honestly the upside of 1,500 yards there. Like this is a guy.
And their
who-
defense sucks. So
Yep.
that's
Yeah,
something
I
to
mean,
keep in
yeah.
mind.
Field a lot.
Yeah, we've said it all off season. This is a guy who has everything you're looking for in a fantasy wide receiver.
Yep.
The target competition, the draft capital, the college production, the quarterback, the overall offensive what?
he just dropped his phone directly on his
in my foot.
Oh, the overall offense and the point predictions, and then just like you mentioned, the defense. This is an offense who should be on the field every time. One of the golden combos of fantasy
Yep.
football is guys on high-powered offenses that also have low-powered defenses. So, I mean, the dude has everything you're looking for. He's the best receiver prospect we've ever seen. He wore an Apple Watch and Louis Vuitton cleats in college.
Enough said.
There's no way he's bad.
Right.
I would genuinely be shocked if he's not a top 12 guy. I'm not
Right.
gonna lie. At this point, the investment I have in him, there's just
I wouldn't say be shocked.
I'd be shocked.
Yeah.
Top 15.
I'd be shocked.
I could see a world where he isn't the number one target in that offense
No,
I don't see
know about
that.
behind Trey McBride.
No.
No, I don't see that.
I could
at
see
all.
a world where that is the case.
Yeah, I could see a world where unicorns exist, but
Trey McBride was him.
If the Rizzler had his
McBride
way,
could
they would.
finish his tight end 1 and
McBride could
end up with
still be the
140,
tight end.
150 targets.
150 is a lot for Trey
Woof.
McBride, but
140.
140 is still a
That's
lot
a
for
lot.
Trey McBride.
125 to 130.
Trey McBride should still be the tight end 1 while not being the leading receiver on the team.
I agree.
In yards. I think he
In
could lead the team in receptions.
I don't think
Well, I
he's
mean,
gonna.
besides McBride,
140,
and
150 targets. You're talking Travis Kelce numbers. Like
Yeah, he's just not.
he's
Yeah,
just
Kyler had it like that. Granted, it was
right, but he's
I
just
know,
not.
but it was when it was him and
It was pretty
Kyle.
agreed. That's what I'm saying. Granted, it was
This
pretty
is
forced.
starving Marvin, bro. Like, come on, Trey McBride's not.
I don't know if he's starting.
I am.
He's starving, bro. He's never been hungrier.
But yeah, he's in wide receiver. He's in top 12.
This is
Yeah.
starving we're talking about. All right, next up, DK Metcalf. Tom, the floor is yours.
I have DK Metcalf ranked pretty high. I think I have him at.
Talk about it.
I'm at 9. I love DK Metcalf. I like. Yeah, it's a little high. I'm gonna move him for sure. But if I'm moving him,
Handle
it's
it.
to like.
bro.
No, it's to like 11. It's
is
not
the-
much further, but
What's his?
I don't know. But don't do it. I think Seattle is going to be one of those teams that the offense is due for some.
It's not it.
No, the offense is due for some positive
Oh, you're talking
regression.
about I know what you're talking about. I don't know what it
Yeah, this. I'm talking
No,
about
no, I
this.
was talking-
That's what you just did.
is. No, I did this.
No, but then you did. You're talking about.
All right, come on.
I don't know
bro.
what's happening here.
I'm hungry, man.
I
Come
think
on.
Seattle's going to have a beautiful combination of a shit defense and a high-powered offense. I think DK Metcalf is one of the better receivers in the league, and I think the touchdown numbers are going to go up, and I think he's going to get a shit ton of targets. I'm not saying he's a lock to finish as a wide receiver 1, but I would put him in the tier with Evans, Nico, and those guys.
I agree that.
I think he's in that tier. I'd take him over Debo.
Yes.
I'm kind of coming around to the idea of taking him over Olave.
Yep,
I'm there, yeah.
I'm there.
I'd
Or
probably
too.
If you were all there, then I'm okay with that.
I'm over Waddle too.
I'd probably cut it off at Waddle, but
I'm all right with that.
I'm open
I mean,
to
yeah.
the idea of him going over Waddle.
yeah,
I think
I'm open to
Devontae
it,
is
too.
100%
Convince me.
What?
Convince me for DK over Waddle.
Over DK? Yeah, man, I got you. Hold
Sam
on.
Howell's
Give me a
gonna have a
second
starting
here.
job
And
by
one is the
5.
number one in the offense, and the other is.
He is the number one in the offense.
Is that it right there? Is that enough?
Number 1 in the. I mean, bro, we've seen what he can do.
When I'm looking at it, his numbers.
Jalen's finished higher.
Right. But Geno's year with the year where Geno was really good, he had 140 targets and only 6 touchdowns. I'm thinking he gets those touchdown numbers up and maintains that target
hope.
pace.
You would hope.
I'm gonna bank on he does. He's archetype wise, he's built to be like the best red zone threat in the league.
He
But
burned me last year, man. One of my hot takes was that he'd lead the league in touchdowns.
I had him just as high as I might have had him higher last year than you have him this year. So it's just I'm just being a little
That's
bit
fine.
cautious. But yeah, I want to.
I'm also
I
like,
want to put him higher.
it's
trust
also
me.
like where he's going in drafts for me. I
Yeah, he's
love the idea of
still
taking him.
steal.
So that
Yeah,
that
yeah.
probably plays into my
Yeah.
my
Yes.
rankings.
I'd
Yeah.
probably.
I'm cool with cutting it off at Waddle. If they're both staring at me, I'd probably take DK. But
I'm cool with the cutting off at Wall too.
Tay, Nico, and Evans over him is okay for me.
Yeah.
It's fine.
All right, next guy. I think this one's pretty easy. Puka
Wide receiver.
Nakua. I'd shove him behind Marv.
I'd
I'd agree.
take Marv over him. Yeah.
How serious do you think this injury is?
I think he'll be back for week 1. He might be a little hobbled, but like by like week 3 to week 4, he should be 100%.
Injuries aren't
We
new
can
for
put
him
him-
though.
we can
So
put him-
Injury, he was so injury prone in college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
man, he did play all 17 games last year though, and
And
he
he
was
was
hurt.
beat
I remember
up.
his oblique was fucked up a
He
couple
was
of games in a row.
beat
but
up last year,
Yeah, I think
bro.
he'll be out there for week 1. He might be like a little bit limited in terms of like how they use him because they probably want to be a little cautious
Yeah,
with
but-
him. But I think by week 4, week 3, he'll be like 100%.
I think he's
like they'll be
Hawaiian.
ready to fire him.
Samoan.
Samoan? Those Samoans are built fucking
No, he's
different,
built
dude.
different.
But
I mean,
after
guys,
Marv-
keep taking Devontae Adams over him in
After
drafts,
Marv?
please.
I would put him.
I'm begging you.
Nah, I think
Well,
he's after Marv.
majority rule.
I'll put
sorry.
him after Marv.
Joe
Yeah.
Cruz.
Sucks to suck.
Drake London, Bridge.
I might be
Going down
crazy.
my London,
I'm-
London,
I might be crazy.
going down my London.
He's at the top of high-end wide receiver too. But I
I don't know.
I'm
I don't
in
think.
weirdo territory with Drake London. So
I have Mike Evans and Nico Collins above him.
Yeah,
I do.
I'm not there.
I do.
Where are you?
We could put him at the top.
I don't think I'd put him in the tier above. I just don't see a world where it doesn't work out. I don't know. It makes so much sense. The situation.
oh wow, you're with me.
What?
Wait, so you're saying put him in the Puka tier?
I wouldn't put him in the Puka.
Mm,
Oh, just the
I
top
don't know
of this
about
tier?
that, but I'd put him at the top
Yeah,
of that
that's
tier.
fine.
Yeah,
That works. Would
Yeah,
you
yeah.
take Mike
That's
Evans
me.
or Drake London, JC?
I would.
I do also have
I
him in
would take-
Dynasty. I'll throw that out
I
there.
would take Drake London over Evans, but I think I'd take Devontae over Drake London. At the end, I think the whole thing with Devontae is just that snap share, man. Like this
Target
the
share.
target
Target
share.
share.
Yeah.
I could see him.
I think Drake is about to be so him. How do you
I
feel?
just don't
Where are
think it
you
makes-
at? Where would you put him, Chris?
I'm also a big believer in Darnell Mooney.
I'd
I'm not gonna lie.
Put
I
Mike
think he
Evans
can
and
Well, that's
Nico
where you
Collins.
fucked up.
Yeah.
Nah.
Well, that's where you fucked up. So
I have Nico Collins. I have these guys all back to back. I have Nico at 10, Mike Evans at 11, Drake London at 12. So I'm kind of
cool with it.
indifferent
Yeah.
to it. Yeah, I mean, out of those guys, I'd want Nico Collins on my team probably because I think he's the latest in terms of ADP. So
He is.
out of the group of 3, I have him ranked the highest, and he's going the latest out of the bunch. So based on ADP, I'd rather have Nico Collins, but I haven't found an opportunity to really draft Drake London yet. But like he's a guy who I wouldn't mind having him on my
Yeah.
teams.
So
Agreed.
crazy enough, I actually have him above Puka in my rankings, but I wouldn't put him in wide receiver 1 here. So
I have him right behind Puka.
Oh,
London.
Drake London.
I've London at 11.
I have him above Puka. I have him at 9. So
that's fair. I think he's due for a really good year.
I just don't see a world where he doesn't have a really good year.
All right, the last 2 guys, these guys are going to go into that wide receiver 1 overall tier. It's just about where. So we'll do Tyreek Hill first.
he's the top.
Number 1.
Over CD?
Yes.
No questions
No
asked?
questions asked.
No questions. asked.
JC, what's the argument? I mean,
No,
you're
I'm cool with that, but it
you're beat,
depends
but
what
wh-
you're-
what's the argument, man?
No, I'm cool with that. It's just I want to see where if I'm thinking who the next guy is. I want to see where you rank him.
Well, the next guy is Jamar Chase,
I
and
think
He's second below
I
Tyreek
think
Hill.
He's the number 1.
I've been on. Yeah,
I think
I've
he's
been on record
think
saying
he's
he's the number one.
I think
so.
he's better than Tyreek.
I'm not gonna complain.
the only question is would you guys take Tyreek or McCaffrey 1-on-1?
Tyreek right now.
Jamar Chase.
You take that's what I was gonna ask next. You take Jamar Chase 1-on-1?
101, yeah.
I'm taking Tyreek.
I'm taking Tyreek.
Like I told you guys, I've had underdog.
I think Tyreek has the best floor out of anyone in fantasy.
Yeah,
and the
that's
best
fine.
ceiling.
yeah.
Yeah.
I did.
So
No,
he's the
no.
101.
I've done
No,
four.
I think Jamar's
I think
ceiling is
Jamar
there.
has. I think Jamar could have the same ceiling, but I
Yeah.
think Tyreek's floor is higher.
Yeah.
But I've
I'm
done
in
4
love with
drafts
the
from the
Bengals.
101 on underdog. I have 2 with McCaffrey, 1 with Tyreek, and 1 with Jamar. So, it's kind of picking hairs. I just think everything's lining up for Jamar. I think the fact that the people are sleeping on the Bengals
Hasn't pulled
does
up
well
the
in his
camp.
favor. Don't matter. He's Jamar Chase. I'm not worried about that shit. We still have CD ranked this high too. CD just started
True.
going to camp, so it's when you're this good, that shit don't matter. As long as he's on the field for week 1, there's no reason to be worried at all. This is a guy who we've seen his target share go up every single year. He has a rapport with Joe Burrow, and just like Tyreek Hill, I mean, I said it a bunch throughout the course of this podcast in particular, but more than anyone, I mean, these are probably the top 2 guys in the NFL who could turn any play into a 70-yard touchdown. Like Jamar Chase has the big playability with the best of them. If you combine that with the 140-plus targets he saw last year, there's no reason this guy can't be a 115 reception for 1,400 yards and double-digit tugs.
Man, if he gets 115 catches, he might have 1,700 yards.
Yeah, no, this
Yeah.
could.
Who, Jamar? I think
Yeah.
he easily reached 1,800.
Jesus,
I said
Easily insane.
I said to
Crazy.
I
Easily
said this to
insane,
Ortiz
bro.
at the PlayStation party the other day. If because this was the big thing for Tyreek last year, because that's what he was saying, he was going to get 2K. If there was 2 guys who could get 2K, it's this year, it's Jamar and Tyreek. Obviously, Jetta's skill set, like you could say he could do it at some point in his career, but
that is the best receiver in the league.
this year, who could do it with the quarterback play included? I think the only 2 guys who it's possible, it's Jamar and Tyreek. But I think Jamar is just as much in that conversation with Tyreek. So I have Jamar as my wide receiver 1 overall. I think he's going to be the best player in fantasy.
So you said that Tyreek has a safer 4,
Yeah.
and that they're the same ceiling.
I think Jamar's ceiling this year is slightly higher. I think Tyreek's going to see a slight decrease in volume, while I think Jamar, if it's not the same, it's going to go up.
Yeah.
So
I have Tyreek wide receiver.
I have Tyreek.
my thing
too.
with Tyreek is just as a Dolphins fan and watching how things unfolded, there's a reason why things fell off the rails. There's a reason why Tyreek was hurt at the end of the year, and there's a reason why his production went down at the end of the year.
He was
just
overused.
It was just unsustainable volume. So I think his volume's going to decrease. While again, Jamar Chase, I honestly don't see a reason why he doesn't see more targets. I mean, he saw 140 last year. I could see him getting up to 150.
So what also scares me about that too is Tyreek wore down after getting up to that number, right? Jamar has already proven that he has gotten injured on multiple occasions in his NFL career. I don't know if Jamar can sustain that volume.
I think it's a destiny thing. I think Jamar's just
Sure.
due to have everything. Given
He's so cool.
the unluckiness with the
7-11.
Bengals over the past 2 years since the Super Bowl, I think they're going to catch a break this year. That's why, we mentioned it in our division previews. I'm super high on the Bengals. I just think everything's going to break their way this year. I just think that's always a part of this stuff. Whether it's fantasy or whether it's real life football, you got to get lucky.
Yeah.
You got to get lucky.
Sure.
And if I'm predicting any team to get lucky, my heart just all offseason has told me it's the Bengals this year. So
There it is.
We're gonna shove him in behind Tyreek here,
And
just for the sake of it. But
one more point too. I think Chiefs can three-peat this year, but if there's any team that would take them down, it's the guy that has done it. I think
in the
Yeah.
AFC, yeah.
talk that.
I
talk.
agree.
Sure.
Bengals are there.
Yeah.
I could agree with that.
All right,
All right, well, there it is.
2 hours and 19 minutes, guys.
I need to go take a piss. I've been holding it for 30 minutes.
I was literally about to outro.
Yeah, let him out show first.
He's about to climb over
Come on,
me.
let him just out first.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, follow us on all of our socials, BallGame, 1K Hoodie, do all that good stuff. Joe Cruz, thank you so much for coming on
Thanks
this
for coming, buddy.
podcast.
No problem,
Damn,
no problem.
I need to breathe. Preseason football's on tonight. It might be over now. Actually, by the time you're watching this, it definitely is over. But
Drake Mace.
preseason week 2 is here. NFL season is coming up, and stay tuned. BallGame.
Ball game.
Ball game.